Well, hey there. Good morning and welcome in a very special edition of the Sean O'Connell Show. I am Bill Riley filling in the air chair for the first time in 637 days. Wow. I sure hope this is like riding a bike because it's been a minute since I've been here. Hey, how are you this morning? I am live today at Wasatch Front Kia in Ogden, 770 West Riverdale Road. I will be up here till 2 o'clock today telling you all about their March Markdown Mania, which is going on right now at Wasatch Front Kia. And thought maybe we'd have a little fun on a Friday. A big thank you to Sean O'Connell and all the good folks at ESPN 700 for inviting me back to fill in and pinch hit today for Sean. I'm going to be back here from time to time. I'm not going to be back a bunch, but I'm going to be back here from time to time when Sean and or maybe Spence goes on vacation or has something to do that takes them away from the air chair. So I'm so glad to be back with you today, and also a big thank you to my bosses at the University of Utah now, who gave me the blessing to come back on the air and talk to you guys just a little bit as well, as we are live today in Ogden at Wasatch Front Kia. Hey, I miss you guys. I would love to hear from you today. Shoot me a text message, 877-353-0700. Let me know how you're doing. If you're up here in O-Town today, come on by and say hi. We're doing a little March Madness shoot-off today. We're giving away Post Malone and Jelly Roll tickets. Yeah, Posty and Jelly are coming back to Rice-Eccles Stadium in July. For the next 3 hours, we've got a basketball hoop set up here at Wasatch Front Kia. And so the person that knocks down the most shots, is it most shots in a row, guys? Is that what it is? Whoever just makes some shots. So come up here. I'm not in charge of this. Alyssa's in charge of this. Spencer's in charge of this. I'm just inviting you to come up and try to win some Post Malone and Jelly Roll tickets here at Wasatch Front Kia, and maybe then kick the tires on some of the great 2026 Kia deals they've got going right now during their March Markdown Mania up here at Wasatch Front Kia. So, welcome into the program. Shoot me a text if you'd like to, 877-353-0700. As I said, I've missed chatting with you. Hopefully some of you have been catching the podcast I've been doing for about 9-10 months now. It's called Crimson Corner. You can find it where you get your podcast. You can find it at Spotify and iTunes. You can find it at utahutes.com. I do it every week. It usually drops on Wednesday. As you can tell, Crimson Corner, we're talking a lot about Utah sports, spring football, basketball, whatever's going on campus. So you can catch me there each and every week. And if maybe you'd been sitting around for the last couple of years wondering where the heck I went to, well, I'm enjoying my new full-time gig as Director of Broadcasting at the University of Utah. In fact, tonight, as part of that gig, I'll be calling the baseball game. If you've not been out to the new baseball stadium up on the campus of the University of Utah, Charlie Montford Field at America First Ballpark, come on out this weekend. The weather should be fantastic. So come on out and say hi. We'll be out there this weekend doing the games with Kansas State in town, and that's part of my new duties as Director of Broadcasting. But I'm happy to be back in the air chair, filling in for Sean today. Sean's going to join us a little bit later on. I think he's in Pittsburgh today, which I was in Pittsburgh a couple of weeks ago when the Utes played down at West Virginia in basketball. There's no direct flights to Morgantown, West Virginia. You kind of it's a very indirect route. We had to go Cincinnati to Detroit to Pittsburgh and then drive an hour and 15 minutes to Morgantown. Sean will join us from Pittsburgh today in the 1 o'clock hour. Today's officially opening day for Major League Baseball. I know they've played games the last couple of days, but today's the day where just about everybody plays in Major League Baseball. So we're going to talk some Major League Baseball because it's trending in the direction that Utah and Salt Lake City are going to get a Major League Baseball franchise. I mean, everything you read, people that I talk to, and I still talk to a lot of people, really feel like Utah's going to get a Major League Baseball franchise. And one of the guys that's part of that, Baseball Utah and Big League Utah is Dale Murphy. Murph's actually at opening night tonight for the Atlanta Braves playing my beloved Kansas City Royals. So Murph's going to join us a little bit later in the show today. Gordy Chiesa, my good friend, my pal, you know him, you love him. He has continued on with Sean, which is great, but I could not, in good conscience, come back and sit in this chair for 3 hours and not talk some ball with my guy Gordy Chiesa. Gordy will be on with us at about 11:30 today, and he promised me a good list today. So we'll do that. And then Matt Muehlbach, a college basketball insider and analyst with NBC Sports and Peacock. And, of course, Matt was a great Arizona Wildcat. Going to talk a little bit about the brackets. His beloved alma mater, the Arizona Wildcats, advanced in dominant fashion. I mean, they beat a really good Arkansas team handily last night. Houston got bounced last night. That was a little bit surprising. Nebraska got bounced by Iowa. Iowa now gets to wear that Cinderella slipper as the highest seed that's still playing. They're into the Elite Eight. Ben McCollum is a really, really good bat. Anyway, we're going to talk all kinds of college hoops. And I want to get Matt's thoughts, too, because he saw Utah play 2 or 3 times this year. They had a handful of games that were on Peacock, and Matt did some of those games. I just want to get his thoughts on Alex Jensen's first year and some of the things that he saw and where Utah goes this offseason with kind of retooling the roster just a little bit to be more competitive in the Big 12 this year. So Matt Muehlbach's going to join us. We've got plenty to talk about today. We're going to dive into a little bit of Utah basketball. We are going to talk plenty of spring football today on the program as well. I was up at the press conferences the other day. I'm sure Spence, and I saw Porter up there the other day. All the assistant coaches were made available, and some good insight. And because of my new position at the U, and obviously as voice of the Utes, I've had a chance to sit down with Kevin McGibbon, the new offensive coordinator. I had a chance on my podcast. If you've missed any of those, you can go find them at the Crimson Corner. I had a chance to sit down with Colton Swan a couple of weeks ago, the new general manager, Joe DeRazio. So I've got a pretty good feel for where things are right now with Utah football as well. And I'll give you, with spring football underway, 5 practices, now I think 6 beginning today. It's really kind of get-to-know-you time up there. So anyway, we'll talk some spring football with the program as well. And, again, I would love to hear from you guys on the program, 877-353-0700, as we broadcast live today from Wasatch Front Kia on Riverdale Road here in Ogden. Come by and see us here, 770 West. Kick some tires on the 2026 Kia K4 LXS, the Sportage, the Telluride. They've got great deals going on right now. And while you're here, shoot some baskets and attempt to win Post Malone and Jelly Roll tickets. The contest only goes on while we're here today. We've got a hoop set up here on the showroom floor. Got a basketball here as well. Spencer and Alyssa are running that whole show. So anyway, it'll be great. So come on up and see us. I'm thrilled to be here. I'm happy Sean gave me the blessing to sit in for him while he's out today. And I'm really looking forward to catching up with you guys, talking to Gordy, talking to Sean, talking to Murph and Matt, and just kind of chopping it up with you guys a little bit today. By the way, has anything happened really and truly since I was last on the air doing this show? I mean, it's only been 637 days. Oh, wait. We've got a hockey team that's playing right now, right? Yeah, we do. Yeah, we've actually, when I was last on the air, they didn't physically exist yet on the ice in Salt Lake City. By the way, they're going to be a playoff team, it looks like, this year. I actually went downtown last night and watched them play the Capitals. They lost 7-4. It was great. 11 goals. There must have been about 17 different fights last night. Got to see Alexander Ovechkin, which will probably be Ovi's. He isn't moving great. He did have a hat trick last night, but I'm not sure Ovi's got much more left in him. So we've had a hockey team now. Oh, yeah, our NBA team botched their tank job a year ago, and now they're trying to tank again. So that's not really new. The Jazz still aren't real good right now. A new basketball coach at the University of Utah since I last left. Oh, yeah, a new football coach at Utah since I was last on these airwaves as well. The Morgan Scallier. I guess I'm technically still on the airwaves because I make weekly appearances with Sean and with Spence, and I do the games here, but actually hosting the show. So there's been a little bit that's happened since the last time I was on the airwaves with you guys. So I'd love to talk about anything that may be on your mind today, and whether it's current stuff or anything that's going on at the U or any of that good stuff. Just hit me up with a text at 877-353-0700 as we broadcast live today from Kia, Wasatch Front Kia here on Riverdale Road in Ogden, and we'll kind of go that way again. Todd Troutwine, thank you for the text, Todd. Todd says, great to hear you again. We miss you. That intro brought back so many memories. I love that intro. Thank you for saying that, Todd. It's great to be here. And it was I love it when even Spence or Sean will just even play the U2 music coming in. So that's great. Derek the mailman. Oh, hey, Derek, what's up? My favorite mailman in Utah County. Says, want to be one of the first to welcome you back for the day. Hope you're doing well. Happy for this. Me too, Derek. I am too. I'm so happy to be back here talking sports with you guys. Text message in, hey, Bill, great to hear the voice of the Utes back on the airwaves. Fall can't come soon enough to hear you calling those Utah football games again. I agree. I mean, how many days till we have Utah football? Let's make that exact right now. Till September 3rd. We only have 160 days. 160 days until Utah football, if you can believe that. Thanks for the text message. Calvert Norton says, howdy, Bill. Great to hear you back on that 50,000-watt blowtorch. Me too. It's great to be back here on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. I'm only sad that we don't have the YouTube set up here today. If I was in studio, you guys could watch me doing the whole YouTube thing. Maybe my next time that I fill in for Sean or for Spence, I'll be back in studio. We could do the YouTube thing, too. Derek says, hey, Bill, I'm not going to lie. Hearing that opening and hearing your voice again was good enough to bring a little tear to the eye. It's good to hear you again. Derek, thank you. I'm happy to be back. I really am. I'm happy to be back and just feeling, again, not back full time. Happy to be back and part of the, again, part of the extended family here and doing all that stuff, too. So, text message in here from 8718 says, Bill, great to hear your voice again. Love to know your thoughts on the Huntsman renovation capacity. I hate to see it reduced when it was used to be no problem to fill it up, even with most of the students living off campus. A winter will easily fill 15,000 seats and all those additional students on campus. Well, a winter will certainly help. There's no doubt about that. And that's Alex and Wes and those guys' number one, kind of goal right now is to get Utah back to being that winner. 15,000 seats is a lot. It really is. There are very few arenas in the country today that fill up 15,000 seats on a regular basis. But the really big thing about the Huntsman Center renovations is it's about bringing it up and making it a little bit more modern. Don't think about the seat capacity. Think a little bit about premium seating and amenities in there and some of those things. And that's what this renovation is going to be about as much as – I know everybody's focused on how many seats. It's about the in-arena experience. It's about creating that great in-arena experience. I'll just use this as an example. Baylor has an arena called Foster Pavilion. Baylor's been the best program in the Big 12, right there with Kansas for the last decade plus. And they built their new facility about 3 or 4 years ago. Baylor built a facility, and this is a program that has won a national championship, been to Final Fours, won Big 12 titles. Do you know how many seats they have in their brand new arena? They have 7,500 seats. 7,500. Now, I know Baylor's enrollment isn't as big as Utah's. I get that. But it's a basketball school. That's what they have created in Waco. Scott Drew's been fantastic. But what they've done is they have created a ton of premium seating and kept good student seating as well and put a lot of great amenities in their arena. So I would just say this, Alan, don't get too focused on the number of seats and 15,000. If it drops down to 11,000, that's not a bad thing. Create a little demand, fill the place up, but also create that great in-arena experience, too, at the John M. Huntsman Center. Thanks for the text message. Appreciate it. 877-353-0700. Texter, Danny. Hey, Danny. Danny says, what year is this? Bill is in the house. It's a little flashback. I'm not going to lie. It's a little bit of a flash. We've gone into the time machine today. Thanks, Danny. This text message in from 2086. Hey, Bill, good to hear you back on the radio again. Would love to get your thoughts on Utah football in 2026. Also would love to get your thoughts on the news of last week and how things went down. Well, we are going to talk about about 2026 in football. In fact, I've got some stuff for you, spring football related. If you've listened to my podcast on a regular basis, I am a firm believer in this. Every week for about the last couple of months, I've taken somebody's way too early top 25. And I've kind of dissected it. Way too early top 25s, we all know this. We all know this. They don't mean anything. But they give you an idea of what football people that cover the sport of college football, think of your program. Nothing matters. Even the AP poll that comes out in August doesn't mean anything because we've got the college football playoff committee. That poll is the only poll that really matters. But I have been saying this since really when Morgan took over and watching what they did in the portal and who they brought back. I think Utah is going to be very, very good this year. I do. They were very, very good a year ago. They were a couple of bad plays away, really, from playing in the Big 12 championship game. Credit BYU. They did great work and took care of business. But at the end of the day, they were a couple of plays away. BYU took care of business, and they got to play in that Big 12. But they were 11-2 last year. That was a really good year. The scout, and we'll talk about this with the spring football, and I'll give you my thoughts on things. But the Scally transition has been a really smooth one on the football side of things. There is a great vibe and a great energy in that building right now. They brought back huge building blocks, not one but two starting caliber high-level quarterbacks. They brought back a bell cow tailback. They brought back and they added wide receiving weapons. They have playmakers on the defensive side of the football like Jackson Benny, Elijah Davis, Jonnu Hall, all of those guys. So I think they're going to be really good. Most of these way too early top 25s have Utah anywhere from mid-20s to late teens. And I think that is right. I do. I think that's right. Because they do have some holes they've got to fill. They've got an offensive line that they've got to rebuild. I love the addition of Jordan Gross as the offensive line coach. I really do. I think Jordan is going to do great things in that room. And there's good talent that was brought in. Everybody knows about Kelvin Obot, the 5-star recruit. But there were guys that came back. Here's the thing you need to know. When the portal opened and there were coaching changes and Jim Harding left to go with Kyle to Michigan, the offensive line didn't lose anything. The guys that were there came back. So that tells you what they think of Jordan Gross, but I think there's good talent there. They also brought in, Cedric Jefferson from Montana State, who played and won a national championship at a high level. I just like what they have there. But back to my original point, back to 2026. I think where they fall in those way too early top 25s, in that kind of late teens, is about right. I feel like they are among the best three. Some of those way too early top 25s have had Texas Tech in the top 10. Feels a little high for me. BYU just outside the top 10 feels a little high for me. But I think those three programs, I think Houston's a team that's going to be interesting to watch. I think Arizona is a team that's going to be interesting to watch, and Arizona State as well. I think those are the best six teams in the Big 12 Conference, with Tech, Utah, and BYU being kind of that top three, if that makes sense. So we'll again talk a little bit more about it as we go here. And I would love to hear from you guys as well on the text line or other places. With spring football underway, what's kind of the big question you have as spring football begins about this Utah football program? Is there a big question? Is there a player or a position group or just kind of an overarching question you have about Utah football? Shoot it to me, 877-353-0700, 877-353-0700. This text message in from 1260 says, "Hey, Bill, miss your voice on my ride. As a diehard Ute fan faithful, I'd like you to express your top 5 takes from the new Utah football culture with Coach Scally. What's your biggest worry for this team next season, and what's your honest assessment?" I don't have any worries. Are there there's a difference between questions and worries. I don't think there's any worries. The transition has gone very smoothly. Morgan had a plan, and he's implementing that plan now. He hired good assistants. They shopped well in the portal to kind of restock their roster a little bit, and they had good players coming back. So I don't have a worry. Questions? Well, sure, there's questions. One I just talked about. What's the offensive line going to look like? How do those pieces fit together? You've got it's not like you're replacing one or two. You're replacing an entire offensive line. So this spring, how did Jordan Gross and Kevin McGivern kind of puzzle piece that offensive line together? Who fits where? I also want to know, what's the passing game going to look like? Devin was terrific last year. His numbers went up just about everywhere. And again, we now know that he was dealing with some injuries throughout last year. So for him to have the type of year he had and the numbers that he put up with that type of injury or injuries that he was dealing with, I think is fantastic. But how does it look with Kevin McGivern now? How does that pass game look with Kevin? Do they push the ball downfield? They've got a really good trio of 3 new wide receivers coming in. Braden Pagan, Kylie Scholes, and Ricky Johnson. And then you factor in the guys who are coming back like Dadrian Zipperer and Larry Simmons and Creed Whittemore. I think that wide receiver room can look good, but do they push the ball downfield a little bit more maybe than they did last year? So I've got a number of questions, but I don't have any worries about the team because I think they're going to be good. So you guys can share any thoughts you might have for me. We'll read these text messages, I promise, and the text line is exploding right now. Thank you, guys. It's great to hear back from you guys as well. There's been a lot of fun coming back here. We'll attack some more spring football stuff with you, and I'll give you a few thoughts on position groups I'm watching. You know, some of the conversations I've been able to have with some of the coaches on air and off air without giving away, obviously state secrets. There aren't really any, to be very fair, any state secrets given away in the spring. But, we'll talk about some of those conversations and how they go. So, anyway. 877-353-0700 is your text line number to get in with me as we're live today at Wasatch Front Kia. Text message in from 0013. Looking forward to the next 3 hours of everyone's favorite voice, Schuber Schubertson. Well, Schuber, thank you so much for that text message. And thanks to everybody for all the kind text messages that have come in. This is not going to be a 3 hours of, hey, oh, yeah. We'll read some, and I appreciate all the kind words. But we'll talk some sports here today as well. And by the way, we'll talk basketball, year one of Alex Jensen. And there's something else I want to kind of get into today. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about that with some of our guests. Certainly going to talk to Dale Murphy about this when he joins us a little bit later on in the program today. But I'm just – is Salt Lake City ready for another pro franchise? This is more than just, it would be cool to have a Major League Baseball franchise here because things appear to be trending in that direction right now. But is Salt Lake City ready? The market is pretty full right now. Major League level sport, there's 3. You've got the Jazz, you've got the Mammoth, you've got RSL. Major college, Utah, BYU, Utah State. And then you've got the minor league sports, the Bees, the Grizzlies, the Utah Royals. That's a lot of sports, but that's 9 professional sports, 9 major sports, basically franchises. And I want to talk to Dale about this because he's part of trust me, anybody that knows me knows how much I love baseball and how much I love Major League Baseball. And I'm really excited this year because I think my Kansas City Royals are going to be good. I don't know if they're World Series good, but they've got the best young player in baseball, not named Ohtani or Judge, in Bobby Witt Jr. Might be the best all-around player in baseball. Anyway, I love Major League Baseball. I would love to see Major League Baseball come to Salt Lake City. And it wouldn't probably be for 3 to 4 more years till we saw that franchise here. But I worry about the other franchises. Does anybody else suffer? I don't want to lose anything. I don't want to be one of those markets that loses a pro sports. I grew up in one of those markets. I grew up in Kansas. We lost an NBA franchise when I was a kid. The Kings left Kansas City and moved to Sacramento. I have friends from Seattle that still today, 22, 23 years later, are heartbroken and angry about the Sonics leaving Seattle. So we'll get into that a little bit today as well. Shoot me text messages throughout the day today. The text line is open to you at 877-353-0700. And I'll get to as many of them on the air as I can. If I don't get to them on the air, I'll get you a response off the air. Thank you to Schubertson and all the other fun and great text messages that I've gotten here throughout the day today. We're live at Wasatch Front Kia. They've got their Markdown Mania, their March Markdown Mania going on right now here at Wasatch Front Kia. So come kick the tires, check out the huge savings and great selection on all the vehicles that are moving really, really fast. If you're shopping for a new Kia or just a new car in general, make your move today to Wasatch Front Kia here in Ogden, 770 West Riverdale Road. And when you come in, you could get the basketball. We've got Alyssa, we've got Spencer, we've got the whole crew here. You can shoot for Post Malone tickets. Post Malone and Jelly Roll are coming to Rice-Eccles Stadium in July. Well, whoever knocks down enough shots here today is going to win a pair of tickets to see those guys. So come on in and see us. We'll be here till 2 o'clock today. Coming up next, my good friend, the legend himself, Gordon Chiesa, joins us coming up here on the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Back live at Wasatch Front Kia on the Sean O'Connell Show. Bill Riley pinch hitting today for Sean, who's on assignment. I think he's doing PFL stuff. Sean's a man of many interests and opportunities. I know he's in Pittsburgh. He's going to join us a little bit later on in the show. We're at Wasatch Front Kia today. Show brought to you by Big Willie's. We'll tell you what the hot lunch is. I may call it What's for Lunch because sometimes old habits die hard. But our friends at Big Willie's sponsoring not just What's for Lunch or Hot Lunch today, but also sponsoring the program as well as we broadcast live here at Kia, Wasatch Front Kia at 770 West Riverdale Road in Ogden today. Come on by and say hi. Hey, I got a text from Ralph Zobel. Hey, Ralph. Says, nice to hear you on the show this morning. You didn't say BYU women's basketball team was playing in the NIT Final Four at Wichita State. Okay, there's your plug in your beloved Kansas on Monday. Lee Camard's team is in the NIT Final Four. Thanks for the reminder on that, Ralph. Appreciate it. And by the way, thank you for listening. Good to hear from you. Jordan Aldridge, great to have you back. Getting a little worried we haven't had many players enter the portal on the men's basketball side. How are you feeling about the staff's ability to put together a better roster this offseason? Well, it's going to be better this year because they've got a running start on it. Wes Wilcox, and I had a conversation with him on my podcast a couple of weeks ago. That's what he's been working on for months and months now. And just having been around that program and where they were the last month or two, I know that they are all in on roster construction for this offseason, Jordan. So I think you'll be you and most Utah basketball fans should be pleasantly surprised. I think Alex and Wes and the staff are going to do a nice job putting a roster together. This one comes in from Texter 1013, says, hey, Bill, we missed you. Glad to hear your voice again. How do you rank the top 3 players in the NBA draft? I got to see 2 of them in person. I got to see A.J. DeBonsa in person twice. I got to see Darren Peterson in person once. I've watched Cam Boozer play a bunch on TV. Just, again, this is Bill Riley, not draft evaluator. His opinion, I think A.J. DeBonsa is the best player in college basketball or the best possible prospect. He played hard. He was skilled, did his best to carry a team that was banged up over the last month of the season. I don't know what draft needs. I don't know how. This is not my prediction, but I rank it DeBonsa 1, Boozer 2, Peterson probably 3. There's a lot of questions about Peterson that I don't necessarily have the answer for that maybe NBA teams are going to be able to get the answer for when they do physicals and do meetings and stuff like that. Darren Peterson is a talent. He was just a bit of a mercurial talent. He showed you flashes and glimpses, and I just know talking to friends of mine and family that are huge Kansas fans and work around the program, it was almost kind of a tease you kind of a year because they didn't know when he would be in and out of the lineup. But DeBonsa is so very good, and Cam Boozer is so very good as well. Both those guys, I think, will step in and help their teams from day one. I don't know it as well as our next guest. He is my friend of 24 years, 25 years now. I've been in Salt Lake City 25 years now. And I met him a couple of weeks in, and I couldn't come back on the air today filling in for Sean without having him on the program. The great Gordon Chiesa. Love you, dog. How are you?
Bill, I'm doing well. Welcome back to On the Air. We appreciate it.
It's good to be back again. All right, let's tackle the question that was just asked to me on the text line, Gordy. We'll get into some other NBA and maybe some March Madness stuff. How do you, a guy that's watched a lot of basketball, and I don't know if you've done a deep dive, but you talk to a lot of people too, how would you rank the top 3 prospects for this upcoming draft?
DeBonsa won by far because of his ability to create his own shot no matter who's guarding him, and also his just general unbelievable talent where he raises up and he can look at that basket to make plays, and he can rebound his position, and he is athletic and bouncy. So he'd be number 1. Number 2 is Cam Boozer, who's really highly intelligent, mid-block player, can make shots. He's got toughness. He makes his teammates better. He can rebound in traffic, and he knows how to play the game. He reminds me of Domantas Sabonis, but with much more skills, the way he plays. And then 3 would be Darren Peterson. Your point is well taken, where he's a knockdown shooter. There's question marks about him as far as his ups and downs of not being there. The NBA people will do an unbelievable job of intel before they draft him. but he's a major talent. When you're picking 1, 2, or 3, talent prevails. The fourth guy should be Caleb Wilson, the running four-man from Carolina Tar Heels, who got hurt during the season. He's out. Again, major talent, running the floor, can score, and he will be absolutely a great addition to any NBA team. And the last one I'll mention to you, the fifth pick should be Darius Acuff from Arkansas, who's a point guard, about 6'1", 6'2", can get in the lane, almost like Allen Iverson-like toughness as far as playing. And so those are the 5 guys that should be drafted high, and so the Jazz are staring right at those guys also if they get luck with the lottery cards.
So my question for you, Gordy, is, and you talk to NBA guys all the time, you're still in that world on the periphery. How do they look at a guy like what's the conversation behind the scenes about Peterson, and how do NBA teams view him? You just mentioned there's a lot of unknown questions they'll try to find out during this draft process, but how do they view him right now?
They view him as a major scoring talent, that he can knock down shots, and when he has that ball, you feel good about it. And he can score against good defense that's physical. And so now the question is his character. And they're going to do an unbelievable dive. I'll use the example of, remember last year, Bill, with Ace Bailey, there's reports that he was up and down with Rutgers and that he didn't want to come to Utah. And that was absolutely categorically false. That everyone says that he's really a good young man, and that he by the way, he can play, and that he's a foundation for the Jazz. So sometimes you've got to just go even deeper and deeper into the part about the kid's family, etc., who's advising him, and all the things. Usually speaking, you'll ask the coaching staff, the rival coaches, you'll ask the training staff, you ask the rival training staffs, and anybody around that might know that person to give you information about him, intel, and put it all together, and then go by your instincts if you think you can coach him.
So my question for you, since you and we don't talk on the air together anymore, we talk and text off the air. We've seen 64 games of Ace Bailey, 53 as a starter. He's averaging about 27 minutes a night. It's not quite the entire season, but we're 3/4 of the way through it now, Gordy, almost 80% of the way through it. Give me the Gordy Chiesa, NBA insider, longtime coach's evaluation of Ace Bailey, 19-year-old Ace Bailey's first year in the NBA.
Success. Remember, he turns 20 on August 13th to add to that. He's a 19-year-old guy that played in the NBA right now, and he is playing absolutely well. Again, talent-wise, you feel good about it. When he has that ball and he starts penetrating and raises up into a mid-range jump shot, he can shoot up top of the defense. So the Jazz at number 5 last year, they hit the jackpot of getting him. He's a foundational piece. He's shooting right now 35.9 from threes, and he'll get bigger and stronger as far as doing it. And he knows how to play with the ball and without the ball. So he gives the ball, give and go, old school give and go cut. He tries to space out, re-space out as far as the floor. Now defensively, he's getting slightly better. He still can't guard screening action, which most guys don't. Usually speaking, Bill, most young players play offense too fast and defense too slow. With Ace, he plays offense moderate pace, which is really good, but his defense is still slow, meaning what? Reacting, positionally, understanding when to give help, when not to give help, guard your position. So I say this all the time, is that don't judge like Ace Bailey type people against other guys in the NBA. Try to look at them as far as their age group. So I tell this a lot of times to our NBA colleagues is that in Jazz basketball, Ace has to outplay Amin Thompson of the Houston Rockets. That's the same position, sort of the same age group between 20 and 24. And so the question is philosophically, can Ace outplay someone like him 3 to 4 times in the next generation? We're going to find out. He has enough talent to do it. Will he do it? And that's coaching, and that's his own personal development, both on and off the court. So really, I love his game.
We're talking to Gordy Chiesa here on the Sean O'Connell Show today. Bill Riley filling in for Sean. We're live at Wasatch Front Kia today. There's a nasty little 7-letter word that nobody in NBA circles likes to hear say publicly, but we all know that it happens, Gordy. It's tanking. The NBA is trying to fix its tanking problem. Nobody likes that 7-letter word. Adam Silver doesn't like that 7-letter word, but we know that it happens. The NBA presented 3 anti-tanking proposals. What did you make of what you saw of those proposals? Are any of them possible or good solutions to you?
Yes, the first one is yes. I'll read it to you just quickly, and I'll explain to you even more quicker. They're going to say there'll be next year, possibly now. It'll be voted by the Board of Governors at the next meeting this May. And the Board of Governors, for the listeners, is the NBA owners. There'll be 18 teams in a draft lottery. They'll be seeded 7 through 15 in each conference. And they're going to flatten the odds with the bottom 10 teams, as far as their record, will all have a 8% chance of receiving the first pick of the draft. The remaining teams will have a 20% chance of getting the first pick of the draft. And that it'll be the order. So after the first 10, then it'll be the order of being drafted will be 11 through 18, and every team will be in the lottery. So there'll be 18 picks, quote, in the lottery. So which means that all the teams that don't play in the playing tournament and the teams in the playing tournament will be in the lottery, 18 teams, and the 6 teams from the Eastern Conference and 6 from the Western Conference that made the playoffs will not be in the lottery. That's the most solution of it. They're probably going to tweak part of it also, but they've got to stop this tanking. Bill, I understand, even the last 40 years or so, there's teams that are losing at the end of the season, but this started literally for some teams from Bill after the first month that they didn't want to win. I mean, I have a real problem with that just from a fan standpoint, and so the NBA is addressing it. And you know why, Bill? Also, the TV partners are saying, wait a second, we didn't pay for all this billions of dollars for 1/30 of teams not trying to win.
Gordy, it's made the game itself an unwatchable product. And to your point,
Correct.
It became an unwatchable product for certain fan bases in November and December. That's a horrible business model, especially when you consider what ticket prices cost to go see one of those games.
Yeah, very much, absolutely. And that is the reason why that Adam Silver was a very smart person. You like to think that every team is going to try to get the best product. Now, I get it. Some teams look at it short term and then long term. I understand that. But in the meantime, though, you have to try to be somewhat competitive during the game. Again, during the catchword is during the game. And they're going to address it right now because they're serious about it. And whatever anybody gets serious about, remember, it's called the National Basketball Association. I call it the National Business Association. This is a business, and when it affects the business model, it's very alarming to all the 30 owners, and rightfully so. They should be. And the next part of that bill will be the expansion, as far as the NBA is going to expand in the 28-29 season. And so they're saying very basically that they're exploring it right now. So it'll be Seattle coming in and also Las Vegas. And that each owner, for the new ownership groups, I'm assuming it will be probably hedge fund people and venture capitalists as far as buying into a team, is that will cost them roughly between $7 billion to $9 billion to be invited to the party. Let's put it in context. In jazz basketball in 1974, when the Jazz started in New Orleans, the entry fee was $6.5 million. $6.5 million in 1974 for the Jazz in New Orleans to become part of the party.
It's amazing where those rights fees and things have gone. Do you like both Vegas and if they do expand? I know you like Seattle. Everybody loves Seattle, Gordy. They should have never. You coached there the last year with the Sonics and Bob Hill. That's a slam dunk. Should have never happened. Do you like Vegas as another one too?
Yeah, very much, absolutely. Yeah, Vegas. Okay. Vegas was. I call it the 31st NBA city ready because all the workouts are there by the individual players. The summer league is there. The in-season tournament is there, and just generally speaking, that Vegas is is a destination for so many NBA fans. So it's already the 31st city. Let's make it the 31st franchise.
Talking to Gordy Chiesa here on the Sean O'Connell Show today. Bill Riley filling in with my good friend Gordon Chiesa. All right, we got to talk a little bit of March Madness before we get out of here, Gordy. I opened up ESPN.com this morning, and I think Dan Wetzel is a fantastic writer. And I see on the front page of ESPN.com Wetzel's column today. Despite scandals, Rick Pitino might be the best men's college hoops coach ever. Well, I need to go to the source here because you were on Rick Pitino's staff at the beginning. You know Rick well. You know all about him as a coach and as a person and all of that stuff. What do you make of that headline that Dan Wetzel wrote this morning that he might be the best college coach ever?
Well, he's going to also add to that because there's so many different schools and also decades, and that makes it so interesting. The ability for Rick to adjust with the times, and he has. So he's in the top 5 of all time. And he's done it for much longer with different groups of people and at bigger programs and also smaller programs. So the answer is that's a very valid point. I wouldn't say the best of all time because we're not doing justice to Johnny Wooden or to Coach K or to Bobby Knight, etc.
Yeah.
Dean Smith.
Yep, so, I gotcha.
So that's an arbitrary word, but he's absolutely in the conversation, which is great. What makes Rick so interesting, and this game Bill, this game tonight in Washington, D.C., it's going to be outrageous between the Johnnies versus the Duke Blue Devils. And the question right now will be, can Duke, with their really tremendous all-around talent, it's going to be a back alley fight. And so will Duke finesse players rise to the challenge? They'll go against St. John's, who are going to start biting, fighting, clawing with their press and trap defense to get them off stride. And that's going to be a great game. I'm looking forward to it. And both teams are really well schooled. And the question is, as always, what team, Bill, can finish through contact when they start fouling you?
Yep.
All right, so you drive to the basket, they bump you. You've got to be able to finish at the rim and make shots. So Cam Boozer is going to be challenged tonight by Zuby Ejiofor. It's going to be an interesting battle between both those guys. So
you know what I love about March Madness, Gordy? So many things I love about March Madness. But you see different coaching styles and different playing styles that maybe you don't see during the year. Look at a guy at Iowa like Ben McCullum in his first year there. 5 years ago, he was winning national championships at Division II Northwest Missouri and Marysville, Missouri. 5 years later, he's got Iowa into the Elite Eight. He's got one star player, but he's doing it with a different style and getting it done. I love seeing different coaches match up with different coaches and styles. Well, they like to say styles make fights, right?
Yeah, very much, yes. And so with the Iowa Hawkeyes, they're playing with confidence. And they move that ball around perimeter, and they're gritty on defense. And so is Purdue, and so is Arizona. These teams are really well-schooled. And that's the power of – I know I'm not objective, but the power of coaching is absolutely there. It's like, I always said about the NBA, it's a myth. People say, well, in the NBA, there's very little coaching. Really? Say what? Really? Look at the better teams in the NBA. The coaching is superior. And you get in college basketball, you get to the Sweet 16. You know what you're doing. Often when you do lose, it's because you don't shoot straight during that game, where your shooters couldn't make open shots versus the constant pressure and harassment of the defensive team against you. And that's why you have to have the ability to score through contact, whether it's on perimeter or whether it's inside. But before we get, Bill, I have a list today, especially in your honor.
Okay. Give me the list, Gord.
Here we go. College coaches who have won multiple men's basketball championships. So right on point about Dan Wetzel, you mentioned before about this is 2 championships. You had to win at least 2 championships NCAA basketball. It's a very short list, and it starts back in the 1940s. Hank Iba, Oklahoma State, 2 championships. Paul Wolford, University of San Francisco, 2 championships led by Bill Russell and Casey Jones. Ed Junkner, Cincinnati Bearcats, back in the 1960s. Billy Donovan, University of Florida.
That's your guy. That's your guy, Gordy.
Absolutely. '06 and '07, and maybe, Bill, maybe the new coach of North Carolina Tar Heels.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. It's absolutely very possible. Dean Smith, Carolina, 1983, 1992. Jay Wright, Villanova, tremendous coach. 2016, 2018. Rick Pitino, Kentucky, 1996, in Louisville, 2013. And you're going to say to me right now, but Gordy, in Louisville, he got vacated the title. That's your next word, right, Bill?
No, I won't say that because those games did happen.
Okay, great. Bill Sepp, KU, 08 and 2022. Dan Hurley, all right, UConn, 23 and 24, with 3 championships. Roy Williams, Bobby Knight, and Jim Calhoun. With 4 championships, Adolph Rupp, Kentucky Wildcats, first time 1948, last time 1958. With 5 championships, which is the second all-time, Coach K, Duke, 1991, 1992, 2001, 2018, 2010, and 2015. So Duke has not won a championship in over 10 years now. This year, if they don't win it this year, it'll be 11 years. And the number one coach of winning the most ever NCAA championships from UCLA, Johnny Wooden. First year was 1964, and the last year was 1975. So that's my list today. How about NBA basketball, by the way? The most NBA championships by a head coach is Phil Jackson with 11. 6 with the Bulls and 5 with the Lakers. Thus, Bill Riley, welcome back. This is my list of today.
Gordy Chiesa, I love you, dog. However, I've got to take a break here. I'll talk to you soon. Let's get lunch.
Thanks, Bill. Peace out.
Peace out. That's my good friend Gordon Chiesa with us here. We're live today at Kia, Wasatch Front Kia. Going to tell you what the hot lunch is. Coming up next from Big Willie's, this is the Sean O'Connell Show from ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Well, I know it's technically called Hot Lunch, but I told James for old time's sake to play the What's for Lunch Open today. Our friends at Big Willie's, they are the title sponsor of the Sean O'Connell Show, and they are sponsoring the Hot Lunch this week. And today, this sounds good. I would see another reason. Trust me, I love being up here at Kia, Wasatch Front Kia. But if I was in studio, I think I'd be getting some of this lasagna and side salad today, right? That's the hot lunch today from Big Willie's. Stop in and see them. They are fantastic. They're located in South Salt Lake. You can't miss them. They're right down there at just off of State Street, where they have Main and 17th South for Big Willie's. Ask for it. Tell them you heard about it on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM, and they'll take good care of you with a little lasagna and side salad hot lunch today from Big Willie's. We've got our I haven't done these in a minute either. PGA Tour leaderboard update for right now, brought to you by our friends at Uinta Golf, the Worldwide Golf. It's got Callaway Fitting and bonus trade-in event beginning today and taking you all the way through the weekend. Take advantage of the 50% bonus trade towards your new purchase at Uinta Golf by Worldwide Golf. So, yeah, they're playing this week at the Houston Open. Down in Houston, Texas, at the Memorial Park Golf Course in Houston. Your leader right now on the course through 17 is Gary Woodland. My guy, Gary Woodland, by the way, is a great story. He also, like me, a graduate of the University of Kansas. Gary is a survivor of brain surgery. He had major brain surgery a couple of years ago. He was having blackouts and dizziness and all that stuff. Great to see him back out on the course. He is, I wouldn't say lapping the field right now, but doing well. He's 6 under today, 12 under for the tournament. He's got a 3-shot lead over Min-Woo Lee, a 4-shot lead over Michael Thorbjornsen. Adam Scott's at 7 under. Carl Wilps is at 7 under. Paul Waring at 7 under. Sam Ryder at 6 under. Jake Knapp at 6 under. So we'll keep tabs on that as we go here today. But that leaderboard update from the Houston Open being brought to you by our good friends at Uinta Golf. Let me get a couple of more text messages in here. You guys have been so kind on the text line, 877-353-0700. Thank you so much for all your kind text messages today. Jordan Meyer said, my day just got better. Great having you back for the day. Thank you so much for that, Jordan. Clint Burdett, part of the Burdett triplets, says, this is such a tease, Bill. We need you back on the radio so bad. Go Utes. Hey, Clint, thank you for saying that. And he loves OC too, so he says that on there too. I'm just happy to be able to be back here. So I just the fact that I get to fill in for Sean from time to time, or even Spence from time to time, makes me happy. So just we're going to be happy with that. So thank you. But good to hear from you. Saw your brother Blake not too long ago, too. Joseph Jarman says, happy opening weekend, Bill. Still got PTSD from when your Royals got my Angels back in 2014. Great to hear you back on the radio again. Well, thank you. Appreciate that, Joseph. I was there for one of those games. I was able to get to a game. Utah was playing UCLA at the Rose Bowl that weekend. It was a Friday night. We flew into Burbank, and we landed at 5. And the Royals and the Angels were playing Game 1 or Game 2 in Anaheim at 7. I hopped in a rental car. Has anybody ever tried to make it from Burbank to Anaheim on a Friday afternoon at 5 o'clock in L.A. traffic? Well, I got there middle of the first inning. I don't know how I made it there middle of the first inning, but I did. And my good friend, the dear and departed, who I miss dearly all the time, especially this time of year with baseball season, my buddy Steve Klauke was there. We hung out for a couple of innings together. The Royals beat the Angels that night. It was a good ALDS for me, probably not so much for Joseph. But anyway, thank you for chiming in. If you missed it, where we are today, we are live today at Wasatch Front Kia in Riverdale Road in Ogden, 770 West. We're up here because they're doing their March Markdown Mania, happening now through the weekend. So come on in, check out the great deals on all of them. Lease offers right now on the 2026 Kia K4, on the 2026 Kia Sportage, and the 2025 Kia Telluride. high demand model, moves quickly. They've got all that stuff. And we're shooting a basketball today for Post Malone tickets, giving away tickets to see Post Malone. So come on in and say hello. We'll be here till 2 o'clock, shooting the basketball till 2. These guys will be here till 8 o'clock tonight and all weekend long here at Kia, Wasatch Front Kia in Ogden. Going to grab a break. We're going to come back on the other side. We're going to get to some Utah football coming up in a bit, but coming up on the other side, talk some March Madness basketball and kind of look at the Utah offseason coming up with a Big 12 insider and Hooper Matt Muehlbach will join us from Peacock Sports straight ahead. Bill Riley filling in for Sean O'Connell. I almost said it, but I didn't. Bill Riley filling in for Sean O'Connell on the Sean O'Connell Show, presented by Big Willie's, right here on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Well, we're technically not in that studio today. We're out and about today. And by the way, I'm not Sean O'Connell. Do you remember my voice? I haven't been gone that long. I'm filling in today. Bill Riley in for Sean O'Connell on the Sean O'Connell Show. We're at Wasatch Front Kia today, Riverdale Road, 770 West Riverdale Road in Ogden. If you're shopping for a car and you've been thinking about a Kia, you can come by, kick the tires on one while you're here. We got a hoop set up here on the showroom floor, and just pop by and shoot for the Post Malone tickets. We're giving some Post Malone tickets away. We've only had a few people come in and shoot for them right now. We're going to give them away at 2 o'clock. So whoever makes the shots between now and 2 o'clock win those Post Malone Jelly Roll tickets. They'll be at Rice-Eccles Stadium coming up this July. Hour one is done. Into hour two, we're going to talk some Utah football and read some of your text messages. I'll give you some of my thoughts on spring football. Again, it's the spring. It's all general stuff, but the beginning of the Morgan Scalley era coming up. We're entering year two. We're coming up on year two. First full year of the Alex Jensen era at the University of Utah. I thought we'd talk a little bit about that and the March Madness that's going on right now. I got to see him a couple of times on the road this year, which was great. Or he came to the Huntsman, too. He is now an analyst for Peacock Sports since the Pac-12 network is no more. My friend and fellow Royals fan, so it's only appropriate to have him on opening day for baseball as the Royals play the Braves tonight, Matt Muehlbach. What's up, Matty?
Hey, Bill. How you doing, man? Thanks for having me on.
It's good to have you back on, and plus I'm back on the radio today for the first time in a couple of years. I had to have some of my old favorites come back on and do the show with me today.
That's awesome. You're gonna have Yogi Roth and let's see who else.
Yogi's in Japan. I was literally Yogi was going to do the next segment, but Yogi's in Japan right now. He shot me a text like 15 hours ahead of time. He's like, I'd love to do it, but I'm on. You know, Yogi, when it's not football season, that dude's traveling the world with his family.
He's out. He's doing. They did like the walk of what was that? Portugal or Spain, that big walk he did. He did a movie on it. He's an eclectic guy, man. We
debuted, that was years ago. We debuted the movie here in Salt Lake City, and tons of football fans came out. I still have the movie poster that he signed. It was really cool.
That's cool. That's super. That's awesome, man.
So how are you? I mean, Matt, for those that don't know, was an outstanding guard for Lute Olson at the University of Arizona back in the day. And I've said this from the beginning of the year, and then when I saw him in person, it just reaffirmed it. Arizona's the best team in college basketball. Does that mean they're going to cut down the nets in a couple of weeks? No, it doesn't, because Matt knows that well because he played on some really good teams. But, boy, they flexed last night. They looked really good against a good Arkansas team. How are you feeling about the Cats right now, Matt?
You know, I feel good. I think they are. I think it's them or Michigan are the two best teams. But as you pointed out, that doesn't always mean you're gonna get to the Final Four and or win it. And they got a really tough game tomorrow. And it's basketball is not. You mentioned baseball and our Royals. I mean, they always say in baseball, right? Like the momentum you get is as good as the pitcher the next day. And in basketball, I think there is more to momentum, but at this stage, I mean, Arizona, Purdue, they're in the Elite Eight. Purdue's won 7 in a row. They just beat Michigan last week or 2 weeks ago. So, the one thing I fear for them is they played so well last night. I mean, they like spanked Arkansas. They had them in knots and I'm a sports guy and an ex-athlete. You worry sometimes, is there a letdown after a great game like that, because they really played well. And I'll say this, it was kind of interesting. Purdue played Arizona a couple years ago. Now, different players but some of the players are still there. Purdue, of course, had Zach Edey. And they took it to the Wildcats 2 years ago in a neutral site in Indiana. And Lawyer had 5 threes. I think Braden had 4. And they really they had them in knots because of that offense they run. And Arizona's much bigger. They're more athletic. There's some things you'd love as an Arizona fan in this matchup. I will say this, though. Purdue is the number 1 ranked offense in the country. Number 1. And it's for a reason. And they play in the Big Ten. It's not like they're coming from a bad conference. So I think it's going to be a really good game. I mean, I think Arizona wins that game like 6.5, 7 out of 10 times. But, look, you never know. And I'll say this. Last thing I'll say on the Elite Eight, it is, to me, the scariest game of the year because – you are one game away from kind of immortality. You make a
Yep.
Final Four in pretty much any school, you're immortal. You go up on the rafters. Other than UCLA, they only hang championship banners. But you're up on the rafters. They'll remember your team for 100 years. But if you lose that game, they forget about you, 2 days later. So it's the weirdest game, and so it's obviously a huge game. And Arizona's it's been a while since they've been in the Final Four. It's sort of like they need the monkey off their back.
Yeah, they never made it in the Sean Miller era. In fact, I think the last Final Four Arizona made, you correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was 2001, wasn't it? Wasn't that the last
That's
Arizona
correct.
Final Four?
Yeah, that's correct. They lost to Duke in the final in that game. Some incredible talent on both teams, but that is, and it's funny you bring up Sean Miller. I mean, the city was freaking out here in Tucson because they're just thinking, oh my God, the ultimate irony. Sean Miller never gets them there. He leaves the program, and then they have to play Texas to get there in the Final Four, and Sean's in their way. But I was hoping for Arizona's sake they played Texas, because I just think Purdue's much better, and hats off to Sean for what he did to get that team as far as they did and get them a bucket or two away from the Elite Eight. But it'll be a tough one. I mean, all these teams now at this, isn't it amazing, Bill? Like how chalked the tournament is right now, and how
Except
really,
Iowa.
Except Iowa. That was it. 14 of the top 17 Ken Palm teams made the Sweet 16. It's one of the most incredible chalk things I've ever seen. And I think one of the differences, I'd like to hear your of course, the NIL is changing that, and I think there's a lot of objectivity around that. I think the other thing is this. The Ken Palm site and these metric sites have identified the team so well that now the committee has such an easy job of seeding teams. And for years, I think we've seen some really bad, egregious seeding because people just don't know other teams. They don't have enough time to see them. They don't really know how good they are. But the Ken Palm site and the others, I think, really like do it so well. The seeding is excellent this tournament, and so I think that's the reason you don't see these weird. 5 years ago, Tommy Lloyd played Houston in the Sweet 16, and Tommy was a 1 seed with Arizona. It was his first year. At the end of the year, Houston finished the year as a two in Ken Palm, the number 2 team in the country, and they were a 5 seed. They were completely misseeded, and so they beat Arizona in that Sweet 16. But you're not seeing that as much now, and hats off to Ken Pomeroy for putting that together, because it's really done a great job with the tournament.
Ken Pomeroy, Salt Lake City native. Ken lives right here. We occasionally see him pop up at Utah games, so shout out to Ken Pom. He's done a fantastic job, and he's become synonymous with college basketball analytics. There's no doubt about that. Tonight's games, let's do that real quick, because I do want to ask you about Utah basketball as we go into year 2 of the Alex Jensen era. But tonight you've got 2 1s and 2 2s playing, a 6, a 3, a 5, and a 4. So what are your reads? If you're looking at upset, I don't think you could call any of these ups. Well, maybe one of them could be an upset. But as you look at these games tonight, your kind of feel for the Duke, St. John's, Michigan, Bama, UConn, Michigan State, Tennessee, Iowa State matchups.
I think Duke's going to win, but I will say that's one where I could see an upset. I was in San Diego last week and saw St. John's play, because they were in the same pod as Arizona, not the same bracket. But it was, by the way, it was so cool to see Patino. Like, he roams the sideline as like such a gangster in his suit, and just like he's super cool. And they play so hard, though. They play really hard, and I think that'll give Duke problems. Duke's had a little bit of some injury stuff, but I think at the end of the day, I think Duke's just better. But I think that'll be a good one. I would not be surprised if St. John's wins that. I think Michigan's going to roll. I thought some people have said they'll struggle with the way Alabama scores and so forth. I just think Michigan's too good. The other one I love, the Michigan State Connecticut. That's just a coin toss. I mean, it's going to be like
first team to 50 for 55 might win that game.
That's right. That's a preview of Utah football coming up for this year. So it's going to be incredible. The offensive rebounding, the screen set in that game is going to be incredible. I think Iowa State's that's an interesting game for them, because Tennessee has the same style. and Iowa State without, I think Joshua Jefferson is not playing, if I'm not mistaken.
I haven't seen that yet. They were calling him a game time decision, but even if you're a game time decision, you're probably 75% at best.
Yeah, I think that's a scary one if I'm Iowa State. I know they're favored, but I think it's more of a pick 'em because of the way the two teams play. You and I was doing that Utah game in Salt Lake when Iowa State was there. And I think they're talented, they're good, but what really drives them is their defense. They play insane. They're Houston-esque how they play defense, but Tennessee, it's exactly how Tennessee plays. So I think that's going to be a match of exactly the same styles, and so that'll be a fun game in terms of the score. I think that's going to be down to the wire.
There's something about this Iowa State team and the fact that what they did in that last round of 32. They play so hard. They guard so well. Those two freshman guards are terrific. I think they shoot it better overall than Tennessee does, too. And if they can get Jefferson, even if they can get 15 minutes out of Jefferson on the floor, but if they got by Tennessee and got him healthy in the Elite Eight, I like that Iowa State team a lot, Matt. I know Jefferson's he's the linchpin to everything they do, but they functioned really well without him in that last game.
Yeah, and I saw him play. I saw him play here in Tucson, but go back to when they played Arizona in the Big 12. I mean, they were tied with 7 seconds to go. So to your point, and Lipsey, by the way, Lipsey's one of the great stories. 4-year guy, played at Ames High School. You got to root for guys like that.
Well, it's an anomaly now. First to have a guy for 4 years, but to have a hometown guy for 4 years, we're not going to see that very much anymore. I think Arizona's got a kid that's from Tucson that's a transfer. He doesn't play very much, but he's back for the program. And is he a kid from Harvard or something that came back to play for them? Is that what it was?
Yeah, they brought a kid in, kind of like their backup point guard. Almost like their third point guard. Really good kid. Went to South Point High School here in Tucson, named Evan Nelson. I think he played 4 years at Harvard, so really good story. But Arizona's interesting because they do have 3 outstanding freshmen, but Jaden Bradley's a third-year guy at Arizona. Krivas is a third-year guy at Arizona. So Del Orso's a 2-year guy at Arizona. So they have a little bit of balance between the transfers and between the freshmen.
I said this. Maybe I said it to you. I told my partner Sean Mooney all year long. I've even told Wes and Alex because we talk offline all the time. I think Tommy Lloyd's building philosophy is the perfect philosophy for college basketball today. Yeah. He's got 2 or 3 core guys that have been in his program, Jaden Bradley, Krivas, that have even Delorso, but have been there, so they know what it is. They're good players too. Then he brings in 2 or 3 really good transfers, and then he supplements it. And granted, it's Arizona, so you're going to get 5-star guys. But he's got 2 or 3 really good freshmen, Burries, Pete, and I think Karchenkov is so underrated for what he brings them. He doesn't demand the ball. He guards, whatever. But I think it's the perfect mix of young transfers and program guys, and I think that's one of the big reasons they're so good this year.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, no reason to repeat it. I agree with what you're saying. And I'd add to that, though, one thing that Tommy did. I mentioned that Houston game they lost. So in that game, they got beat up by Houston, right? They got kind of manhandled. And I think Tommy recognized that. And he knew a year later, they were going to the Big 12. And so he built the team for the Big 12. And I've said this. I did a couple of their early games. And in fact, a couple of people thought I was crazy, but I said, this is the biggest, strongest Arizona team, I think, in history, the history of the school. And a guy like Awaka off the bench who played at Tennessee, he could easily play for our Chiefs. In fact, I know some people in the front office there, and I've actually, not even jokingly, said, you guys need to look at him, seriously look at him for defensive end or tight end or whatever it is. But they're just so big and strong. They just physically, they wear teams down to the point of I think that's why if you watch the game last night, Arkansas kind of lost their cool. And I think they got frustrated because they got manhandled by a bigger, stronger team. And that's what Tommy's done a great job. And I'll say this too, I'm a Pac-10, Pac-12 guy, to heart forever, because that's where I grew up, and that's where I played, and that was what I knew. But the Big 12 has been a godsend for Arizona basketball. It's leveled up, not just the talent, but like how you put teams together. And I've always said this for years. Luke put together, and he won a title and went to 4 Final Fours and was crazy successful. But his teams were more of a Ferrari than an off-road, F-150. and if you look at the tournament's a rock fight. The tournament's Tom Izzo and Michigan State and offensive rebounding, and that's kind of what Tommy's put. He's kind of melded a Ferrari and an F-150 together, and so I think that's the blueprint for a great tournament team.
All right, as long as we're talking about building teams, let's close it down with this. Alex Jensen will be heading from year 1 to year 2. They got a little bit of a late start. Obviously, we all know the portal officially opens April 7th, but it's been, it's like the NFL and free. The talks have been going on for months and planning and things like that. They're better equipped heading into year number 2. You got to see Utah a couple of times in person. Roster's clearly going to be quite a bit different next year, I think. Where does Utah, if you were putting together a little checklist, Matt, of becoming a more improved Big 12 team, where would you start with Utah? Give me a couple of bullet points or a couple of areas where they need to upgrade this offseason.
I think I'll start with where I really liked him. I just had some time to talk to him. I think I had 3 or 4 games. Just understanding that he's there for a reason, right? He's there to Utah to stay. He's not there as a stepping stone. He's building it, the right way. And I think that's, to your point, to answer your question, you've got to get a few guys now that'll start being in the system for a year or 2, just like we talked about Arizona, right? Bradley, 3 years, and he's your point guard. That's the type of thing you need. And I think, I think I just mentioned Arizona. The bigger, stronger team you can build off of. I think Utah struggled defensively in the Big 12. That was the area that probably was the biggest area. Look, Alex knows how to coach. He knows offense. And I think the other thing, too, he's been in the G League. He's been in the D League. He's been an assistant in the pros. He's kind of been all over the place. He's, as a player that played overseas. I think those kind of things are really good for this era of basketball. Eric Musselman once said, the G League rosters don't change by the day; they change by the hour. And I think Alex will be prepped for that, right? He'll learn. Like Tommy Lloyd's in his 5th year, and I think every year, Tommy. I've talked to him after the seasons. He's learned like one thing that he took away, like I got to fix that, or I got to fix this, right? And I think that'll be what Alex does. It's not that he has to learn basketball. It's just, how do I build my team? How do I keep building culture, in the right way? He was obviously a Majerus guy. Culture, discipline, fundamentals, doing things the right way means a lot. And so you're just trying to recruit as much as you can players that fit those roles. And now he has more time to do it. He can see people. He's got a little more time to insert his system in terms of the system and the process of how do I build my team. And that's almost as much now as coaching is. And so I think he'll be better at it this year, and he'll just keep getting better every year.
It's good time to be Matt Muehlbach, because Matt is a fan of the Arizona Wildcats. That's his alma mater. They're the best team in college basketball. He's a fan of the Kansas City Chiefs like me, and our guy Patrick Mahomes was throwing the other day. We saw some video of him throwing. He's going to be ready for opening day. And we've got the best all-around baseball player, not named Shohei Ohtani in baseball, playing for the Kansas City Royals and Bobby Witt, and they open tonight with the Braves.
Yeah, Bobby Baseball, man. It was, how much fun was that watching him in the world
he's so good,
or whatever, and his defense and his all-around play. And I'll tell you what, the Royals, Cole Reagans, I think, goes today against who's the Braves?
Sale,
ace?
Chris Sale.
Chris Sale. That's going to be a hell of a start. And they've got some pitching, so and by the way, Bill, we could talk for another hour, and your fans wouldn't love this, but Chiefs free agency, they killed it in free agency. I loved what they did.
They got the back they needed, and then they filled in nicely with some really good players. And if 15's healthy and ready to go, and they draft well in a couple of weeks, we'll be back, Matt. We'll be back.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. We will be back, and like you said, Patrick throwing that feels good. So, yeah, all systems go for me though. It'd be a pretty big game tomorrow for Arizona fans and their alumni. So it's scary, but it's fun. It's fun to be in the mix.
Hey, good catching up with you. It was great seeing you this year. Thanks for coming on the radio with me today. Maybe I'll grab you on the podcast, Crimson Corner podcast, to
Yeah,
talk some Big 12 basketball coming up once everything kind of settles in a month or two in the portal on the basketball side. Thanks, Matt.
yeah, I look forward to it. Thanks, Bill.
There he is, Matt Muehlbach, NBC Sports and Peacock, college basketball and Big 12 insider with us here on the Sean O'Connell Show today. I don't think I've slipped. I almost said it, but I don't. I think this is Sean's show. I'm just pinch hitting for him. We're live at Wasatch Front Key. By the way, speaking of brackets, track your bracket on ESPN 700 or 92.1's FM's $1 Million Bracket Challenge, which is brought to you by Big Willie's, Game Day Men's Health, Intermountain Bobcat, Budweiser, International Sportsman's Expo, and the Utah RV Show. Go track them, see where you're at. Sweet 16 is underway. We'll be on the Elite 8 this weekend and do that. And it's hard to believe we're halfway home. This thing has flown by today. We're here at Wasatch Front Kia in Ogden. We'll be here till 2. They'll be here all day and all weekend long with their March Markdown Mania going on right now. Featured lease offers include the Kia 4 LXS 2026, 2026 Kia Sportage, all-wheel drive LX as well, plus a variety of other vehicles that are on the lot. Come on by. 770 West Riverdale Road. If you're just in the area and want to say hi, Matt came by earlier. Matt came by and said hi. Pizza has just arrived for lunch. We're shooting for Post Malone tickets. We've got a basket set up in here as well. So come on by and say hi. We'll be up here till 2 o'clock shooting for the tickets and enjoying some pizza. And then you can check out the great car deals all weekend long here at Wasatch Front Kia. We'll come back on the other side. I've never done the Daily Dump presented by Valley Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, but we'll do that. And we'll read some of your text messages and more. OC is going to join us at 1, Dale Murphy at 1:30, and more coming up. Sean O'Connell Show presented by Big Willie's here on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Daily dump time here on the Sean O'Connell Show. First time doing this. Headline stories. We were just talking about it with Gordy and with Matt Muehlbach. Sweet 16 concludes tonight. You've got 4 really good games. I should say 3 really good games, and maybe I'm going to re-amend that again. 2 really good games, and the potential for another one. I'm kind of where Muehlbach is. I think Michigan is going to blow Alabama's doors off, actually. St. John's has enough athleticism, and Duke, to be fair, hasn't played great in the tournament, maybe. I think the UConn-Michigan State game and I think the Iowa State-Tennessee game are both going to be excellent. I do. I think they're both going to be excellent, and I think both of the Elite Eight games tomorrow are going to be fantastic as well. I think Illinois and Iowa, and normally Illinois is a scary good team. As a 3 seed, I think they could be terrific. I mean, really, really good. Like national championship good. With the Wegler kid who's a freshman. Arizona-Purdue should be a good game. I got to say, though, I'm not as worried about that game for Arizona as my buddy Matt Muehlbach seemed to be. And maybe that's just him being an Arizona guy, being nervous about the matchup. Purdue is good. They've got good veteran guards, Fletcher and Smith. I mean, Smith's the all-time assist leader now in college basketball. But I just don't think they play at the same level and intensity that Arizona, and I don't think they have the overall talent that Arizona does either. So that's your college basketball today and tomorrow. Excellent games all over the place. I mentioned this before. Today is the first real day that everybody is playing in Major League Baseball. It was kind of Major League Baseball now. It used to be fun when you knew what opening day really was, and then you had a bunch of games. Now they do kind of do the soft launch. What was it? The Yankees and somebody the other day played first, and you had a couple of games. Today's the day where just about everybody's playing. We're going to talk some baseball. Major League opening day, but I also want to talk about Salt Lake Major League Baseball with Dale Murphy coming up here in a little less than an hour. Murph's going to join. He's actually in Atlanta today because the Braves, like everybody else, loves Dale Murphy. So Murph's going to join us. We'll talk to him about stuff. I brought this question up earlier, and I just wonder if Salt Lake City is ready for another pro sports franchise. Is there enough money to go around? I'm not talking about from a fandom standpoint. The fans are here. That's great. That's 8. Baseball is so many days. And I just worry you've got 3 major league level sports franchises now with the Jazz, the Mammoth, and RSL. And you've got 3 major college football programs, Utah, BYU, and Utah State. And then you've got 3 minor league teams that are gobbling up at the pie. That's 9 big, the Bees, Royals, and Grizzlies. I always think about things not just from a fan standpoint, but fans factor into this as well. 82 games is a lot of games. And then you've got, are there enough corporate dollars to buy the suites and the advertising and everything like that? Anyway, we'll talk to Murph about that because Murph's part of big league baseball here in Utah and helping to bring it here. And trust me, I am not poo-pooing this in any way. I love Major League Baseball. I don't want something to come here and something else snuff off. We're building a great this market. I mentioned this earlier. I have now lived here. It'll be 25 years in June that I have lived in Utah, and to see the sports landscape change, the socioeconomic landscape, it's changed. Everything has changed. It doesn't look like the same city outside of our mountains that I moved to live here 25 years ago. I just hope Utah can sustain another major league sports franchise, and baseball's the next one up. But I want it to happen in the worst way. I did see this story today, and I don't know what to make of this story. I don't know if you guys saw this. Caleb Williams, everybody's favorite quarterback. They love him in Chicago. Utah people here don't love him because of his time here, although he never beat Utah. But apparently he's ticked off one of the great NBA legends with one of the great nicknames of all time. Apparently Caleb Williams attempted to trademark the moniker the Iceman. And he's now facing scrutiny from George Gervin, who shares the same nickname. Apparently, Gervin told ESPN that he was caught off guard when he learned that Caleb Williams had attempted to trademark the term and nickname Iceman that he earned during the 2025 season for his late-game performances in helping the Bears win their first playoff game ever. Gervin said, "I've been the Iceman for 40-something years. I never thought anybody would try to trademark it. He kind of knocked me out of the box." Williams and his holding company filed for 4 trademark applications with the United States Patent and Trademark Office related to the Iceman nickname. That includes water bottles, T-shirts, sweatshirts, jerseys, hats, eyewear, downloadable posters, and more. 4 days later, Gervin and his LLC filed 2 trademark applications for Iceman and Iceman 44, the latter of which refers to his jersey number that he wore for the Spurs, that was retired by the Spurs in 1987. I guess maybe if I lived in Chicago, this would be a thing. I didn't know that Caleb Williams was even referred to as the Iceman. I mean, did he give himself that nickname? Because you can't really give yourself a nickname. Remember, we've touched on this for years. You have to be given a nickname. Maybe he's trying to get this. I don't dislike Caleb Williams. I didn't like his college act. He's turned out to be a really good NFL quarterback, which has changed since I left the airwaves 2 years ago because he was being drafted at that point in time. I'm not sure that the Iceman thing, we'll see if he fights it and goes to court. I will never think of Caleb Williams as the Iceman because I'm old and George Gervin was in my wheelhouse. But it will be interesting to see how this fight plays out down the line. Anyway, that's your daily dump here on the Sean O'Connell Show. Brought to you by the good folks at Valley Plumbing. Daily Dump does it every single day. Some text messages I wanted to read and get in with you guys right here real quick. You guys have been great today, by the way, and I am thoroughly enjoying being back. I am not back full-time. I am not. I'm here on a fill-in basis. Sean will be back soon. But I will be back soon, too, because, as you guys know, Sean travels a lot. So, anyway, text messages. This one comes in today from Texter 1943. How is Nate Johnson best utilized? We were talking about Utah football earlier today. I was asking you to give me some of your questions. I think Nate Johnson is best utilized as a weapon for Utah football. The way that Jason Beck utilized him last year is a great way to utilize him. Nate can be lined up as a tailback. Nate can be lined up as a wide receiver. Nate can be lined up as a slot wide receiver. Nate can be brought in motion in fly sweep action. Nate can be lined up as a quarterback. That is the beauty of Nate Johnson. And here's what I do know about Kevin McGivern from talking to people that he coached with or people that covered him at other stops and then talking to Kevin himself. Much like Jason Beck, who was here a year ago, he does a great job of utilizing all the talent that's at his disposal. So I think that you'll probably see Nate Johnson utilized in a variety of ways this year for Utah football. Text message in from Nathaniel Pena. Hey, Nathaniel, or Nate. Nostalgia is real right now. Really glad to have you back on the midday show, even if it's not a full-time thing. Nope, just filling in for Sean. But I'm enjoying being back, too, so I appreciate that. 877-353-0700. Hey, Bill. The resident BYU fan chiming in. Oh, it's Darren. Hey, Darren. Good to hear from you again. Still hoping to run into you at a football game or something. We'll see if that ever happens. Darren, if you come to a Utah football game, you can come to the Smith's tailgate area and bump into me there and say hi. I would love to meet you. Text message in from Matt Rigby. Matt says, Bill, could I get your opinion? Over the next 12 months, which Rice Eccles ticket will cost more? The Holy War or the 2027 NHL Winter Classic? It's a good question. I would have to do some background research. I don't know what Winter Classic. I assume that you're talking about max price, right? Not ticket office price. Secondary market, things like that. I don't know what the Winter Classic tickets go for. I do know that BYU Utah tickets, Utah BYU tickets, fetch a pretty fair penny. And my inkling is when the Utes and the Cougs get together in early November at Rice-Eccles this coming year, both are going to have very good records again, right? So we'll see. I don't know right now. I'd have to price that out. But I do know both will fetch a really, really nice price. I think it's really cool that the Winter Classic's coming to Rice-Eccles Stadium, too. And I love having the NHL in Salt Lake City. Went to the game last night. It was fantastic. Hockey never disappoints. Hockey in person never disappoints either. Jake Rice says, this takes me back to my senior year in high school. Missed you in studio. Missed you in the studio, Bill. Hey, Jake. Back to when was your senior year of high school? 2 years ago? You're a sophomore in college? Thanks for tuning in today. Appreciate it. Ryan Davidson says, I think Caleb's fingernails may be what Thad said it said. Okay. 877-353-0700. If you want to reach me today on the text line. Would love to hear from you. Utah football. What's the biggest question you've got this spring about Utah football? If you're a Utah football fan, I get to go up to practice from time to time and check in on things. Morgan and his staff are always kind. My new job affords me great access as director of broadcasting. And I've also had great conversations with Kevin McGivern and Colton Swan and Joe DeRazio, the new general manager, on my podcast, The Crimson Corner. If you haven't checked it out, my guest this week, Stevenson Sylvester. You can find my podcast. Please find it if you haven't already, wherever you find your podcasts, and rate and review it nicely. But what's the biggest question, Utah fans, you have right now heading into spring ball? Because there's a lot of questions. But as I said earlier on the show today, I am very bullish on what this team's going to be this year. I think they're going to be really, really good again this year. I think they are right there. I think the gap between Texas Tech, Utah, and BYU is very, very close. And I think and on my podcast, I've done a bunch of this with the way too early top 25s. I think most of the ones I've seen that have Utah kind of in the mid to late teens are right. I think that's the right place to put this team. That shows great respect for what returns and for Morgan Scalley coming in, but still says, yeah, there's some questions about this team, which there are. I'll tell you my kind of areas I'm watching. Somebody asked me what my biggest concern was. I don't have any concerns. I have questions, but I think this is going to be a good football team coming up this fall. So what's the biggest question you have right now about Utah football as they begin spring ball? They're a week in right now. And as they head toward the offseason. Hit me on the text line and let me know. 877-353-0700. That's, again, 877-353-0700. Also, year one of Alex Jensen and the basketball program are done now. They're now in the roster-building process for year number 2. What do you see as the biggest need or the biggest area to address as they hit the offseason? Recruiting, portal, stuff like that, which, by the way, opens up April the 7th. You can hit me on the line with that as well at 877-353-0700. And the other thing that I brought up today, is Salt Lake ready? And this is something we may even dive into a little bit deeper the next time I fill in for Sean or Spence. Do you feel like right now Salt Lake is ready for another pro sports franchise? Because the market's pretty full for the size right now. And, again, nothing's official on the baseball side, but it's trending that direction. Give me your thoughts. I'd love to hear from you. We'll do some more text messages coming up as we're live today at Kia, Wasatch Front Kia on Riverdale Road in Ogden. We'll be here till 2, shooting for Post Malone tickets. You can come in, try and win some Post Malone and Jelly Roll tickets, or just check out the great deals they've got going right now on their March Markdown Mania here at Wasatch Front Kia. Plus, they've delivered a little pizza for lunch. So come grab a slice of pizza. Come shoot for those Post Malone tickets. And check out the cars on the lot right now here at Wasatch Front Kia. We'll grab a timeout. Back with a leaderboard update. They're at the Houston Open this weekend down in Texas. We'll read some more of your text messages and more. Bill Riley filling in on the Sean O'Connell Show today right here on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Sean's actually going to join us on the show today. He's going to join us in about 10 minutes here. He's on assignment. He's been kind enough to let me sit in the air chair today. Bill Riley filling in today for Sean O'Connell. By the way, I've got a bit of a busy day today. I'm going to leave here in Ogden, and I'm going to be heading over to Charlie Monfort Field and America First Ballpark, the new baseball stadium at Utah, calling a 3-game weekend set this weekend. Weather should be great. And Kansas State comes into town. K-State's good. Utah's been good, too, at home. They're 7-2 at home this year. First pitch tonight at 6 o'clock. If you guys have not been out to the ballpark yet, I would tell you, just get out there. It is absolutely gorgeous. The views, if you're not familiar with where the park is, it's on campus now. They've got a brand-new stadium on campus, and it sits where the old baseball stadium sat on Guardsman Way. And the views of the mountains and Sunnyside Park are spectacular. Should be a good pitching matchup tonight. K-State's good. Utah's good. 6 o'clock first pitch. Come on out and enjoy. And if can't make it out to the ballpark tonight, myself and former Ute first baseman Hunter Simmons will have the call tonight coming up at 6 o'clock. And then tomorrow at 2 and Saturday at 1 or Sunday at 1. So games all weekend long. And you guys can come out and enjoy a little Utah baseball if you've got no plans this weekend or want to just get outside and see a little baseball and all that good stuff. We would love to see you out there at the ballpark. 877-353-0700 as we broadcast live from Wasatch Front Kia today on Riverdale Road with their March Markdown Mania going on. I've got Little Caesars Pizza in here this afternoon, shooting for concert tickets to see Post Malone and Jelly Roll coming up at Rice-Eccles Stadium. And reading some of your text messages as well today on the program. We'll get you a leaderboard update as well coming up from the Houston Open. This one comes in today from Texter 3494. Says, hey, Bill, good to hear your voice again. Good to be heard again. My question about Utah football is how the offensive line is going to look this year. Well, that's a question, Texter, that kind of everybody has on their mind right now. And I can't give you any definitive answer. I think there's a lot of talent. That's what I can tell you right now. I think there's a lot of talent on that offensive line. It's really now, that's what this spring, probably the biggest question in spring football right now is figuring those guys out and figuring out where the puzzle pieces fit. Had a chance the other day to catch up. I've actually caught up with Jordan Gross a number of times this year. He met with the media the other day in a media session and just kind of laid some of that stuff out. And Jordan, by the way, I will say this, I've said this multiple times today and told people, there's such an infectious energy and vibe right now on this Utah coaching staff that Scally has put together. It's every single guy, when you talk to them, they're kind of smiling and bouncing around. They're excited to be there. And, yeah, they've got that. The program's got that new car smell right now because you've got a new coaching staff and a new energy about it. And as I've said before, there was nothing wrong, by the way, with the energy that Kyle Whittingham and his staff had. It was just different. And sometimes different is a good thing. But Jordan is one of these guys that is truly excited to be part of this staff. He was a Ute All-American. He was a guy that lived it and breathed it and did all of that while he was at the University of Utah. And then he went on to have a great career for, 12 or 13 years in the NFL as an all-pro left tackle for the Carolina Panthers. And he had a great life. He was coaching high school football in Idaho, his home state. But when Morgan called him, he said he said I couldn't turn down the opportunity. Now, he of all the position coaches, he's probably got the heaviest lift because he doesn't have a single starter coming back. Every other position group has either a guy that played a ton or started last year coming back, but the offensive line room doesn't have that. So Jordan's figuring that out. Now, with that being said, they've got some good pieces. Got a guy that he brings with him from Idaho, Kelvin Obot, who was a 5-star recruit. Utah didn't get a lot of those guys. Then you've got guys that played quite a bit last year, like Alex Harrison and Salatoa Moiai, who were really good players last year. And Keith Olson, who was there, and Zeraway Williams, who were there. So you've got guys that have been in the program. Then you've got some guys that are coming in, guys like Isaiah Kemma and some others. So there are good pieces in that room. Now it's just up to Jordan to figure out where they fit. and that's a perfect opportunity for spring football. So it's going to be interesting to see where those guys fit and how they put them together. And when fall camp rolls around, the real key is if you can get a feel on it this spring, then you're ahead of the game coming into fall camp because you can get your 5 guys together and get those reps together, which is why that offensive line the last 2 years has been so good, because those same 5 guys have played so many snaps together. So I hope that answers your question. Keep hitting me up with questions today. 877-353-0700. That's the text line. I'm glad they didn't change that. That came back pretty easily. 877-353-0700. And I'll read your text messages as I get them today, as we're live today at Wasatch Front Kia. Let's get you a quick leaderboard update brought to you by Uinta Golf. They're playing at the Houston Open this week. The Texas Children's Houston Open. Gary Woodland continues to lead the field. Gary shot a 7 under 63. He backed up to 64 from yesterday, and he leads by 4 right now. He's in the clubhouse at 13 under. Min Woo Lee at 9 under, also in the clubhouse. Michael Bjornsson is at 8 under, 5 back. Carl Vilps and Adam Scott and Zeng Dao and Paul Waring are all at 7 under. They are 6 shots back as they play today in Houston. So, yeah, there you go. That leaderboard update brought to you by our friends at Uinta Golf. And right now they've got the Callaway Fitting and Bonus Trade-In event going on through the weekend where you can take advantage of a 50% bonus trade-in toward whatever your new purchase happens to be at Uinta Golf by Worldwide Golf. So that's where we're at. One more hour to go on this Friday. Time has absolutely flown by. The man whose name is normally on the marquee, well, it's on the marquee, normally in this chair, is going to join us coming up next. I think he's in Pittsburgh. That's one Sean O'Connell. So Sean will join us straight ahead from Pittsburgh today as we broadcast live from Kia, Wasatch Front Kia on Riverdale Road. 2 hours down, 1 to go on a Friday. Bill Riley sitting in today for Sean O'Connell, who will join us next here on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Final hour here on the Sean O'Connell Show today. Bill Riley sitting in and pinch hitting for Sean. We're live at Wasatch Front Kia. Kia, Wasatch Front Kia. 770 West Riverdale Road here in Ogden. Our friend Jan Brownstein has been kind enough to bring a little pizza by. The fashionista brought a little pizza by today. Little Caesars, if you want to stop by, grab a slice. We've got Post Malone tickets. He and Jelly Roll are playing at Rice Eccles Stadium in July. If you come by, shoot the basketball, you might win a pair of Jelly Roll and Post Malone tickets. And we'll talk a little opening weekend baseball and the future of baseball in Salt Lake City with my friend Dale Murphy, who's actually at the Royals and Braves game today in Atlanta. So Murph will join us coming up in a bit. But, he's been kind enough to bless us with his presence on his own show today. But even kinder to let me sit in for him today for a couple of hours. Thankfully, it was like riding a bike. I didn't miss much after 637 days away. Sean O'Connell joining us from the Steel City of Pittsburgh, I'm told, Sean.
That's right, here in Pittsburgh for PFL action tomorrow night. And it'll be on ESPN and ESPN Plus starting at 5 o'clock Mountain. But, we just finished up fighter interviews and weigh-ins and all that for the run-up. So fight day tomorrow.
We will both be on ESPN Plus tomorrow night. I will be doing Utah-Kansas State baseball tomorrow afternoon on ESPN Plus and tonight and Sunday, and you'll be doing the fights.
Nice. Yeah, it's a good place, easily accessible for everyone who's got the app. So find PFL, and there's a UFC fight night tomorrow night as well. So make sure you ignore them and only watch PFL.
That's exactly right. By the way, the air chair, the headset still fits. So yeah, it's been pretty seamless. James has made it easy for me. The remote crew here at Wasatch Front Kia has made it easy for me. So yeah, thanks for letting me sit in.
Of course, appreciate you doing it. I say I appreciate you doing it until I come back and I read all the texts on the text line that are just like, hey, this is better. Get Bill back permanently. But for now, I at least appreciate that you're feeling it.
I think you should have learned many years ago. You never read the mentions. You never read the mentions. Turn the mentions off, Sean. Don't read them.
That's probably the right thing to do, but I'm still petty and terrible, and so I read. I'm in the comment section, if you know what I mean.
I got you. All right, I was asking people today, biggest question about spring football for Utah is what? I've got a bunch of them, and I've talked about them on my podcast, and I've been lucky enough to be able to catch up with Colton and Kevin McGivern and Joe DeRazio, and I was sitting in with all the assistant coaches the other day. I'm bullish on this team, Sean. I really am. I think I've been doing way too early top 25 breakdowns on my podcast every week. I pull a different one up every week, and I think Utah is mostly placed correctly. I think late teens, early 20s is a great place to be right now because I think that they don't mean anything. Preseason polls don't mean anything. The one in August doesn't mean anything either. The only one that matters is the College Football Playoff Committee poll. But what these show is the respect and thought people have about your program. And, with a brand-new coaching staff and with a bunch of new roster players, for Utah to still be 17 to about 21 in most of these polls says this program's got a lot of respect from people on the outside.
Yeah, absolutely, and you wondered if that was going to be maintained when the architect of the program was now somewhere else, and it's a good little shout to the confidence people have in Morgan Scalley's ability, in the recruiting classes, and the development reputation of this program, and I think very specifically to the quarterback position because people saw what Devin Dampier was able to do last year, and then they saw what Bert Ficklin did in his sparing duties, and everyone kind of probably raised an eyebrow at the fact that both guys are still on the roster, and that if you've got a good quarterback situation, you've got a good quarterback, you have a chance to win college football games. That combined with the schedule, I think there's a lot of reasons to be optimistic about this Utah football team, even though there are plenty of questions that need to be answered.
Well, obviously the biggest question, and we'll talk about this, then I want to find out what your second, because everybody's biggest question is offensive line. And it's not necessarily that there's not talent there, but you lose 5 starters. And when you lose 5 starters who had played together basically for 2 full years, that's a big question. Now, I've talked to Jordan Gross a number of times. By the way, did you and Jordan cross over at all, or did you come in right after he graduated?
Yeah, I came in right after he graduated.
Okay. But he is a guy that he is so happy to be at Utah. He talked about it the other day. He said he and Scally had long chats on the phone before he ever committed. And he said when he saw Scally's vision, he couldn't say no, and he just wanted to make sure Scally was sure and taking a big chance on him. It is a big chance in some ways, but in other ways, a guy that was an All-American at your school, a guy that had a 12-year NFL career playing the position and was an All-Pro, and has now coached high school kids for 2 or 3 years. Maybe he doesn't have quite the experience at this level that a Jim Harding did, but Jordan Gross checks a lot of boxes.
Yeah, he does. And one of the boxes that, even that resume you just gave doesn't necessarily tell the full story on. You can be an All-American player and not necessarily the best teammate. You can be an All-Pro, or you can be a Pro Bowler, or you can be a longtime veteran in the NFL and not be invested in the success of people around you. Like, your own talent and ability can carry you to honors like that and to veteran status like that. But in speaking with guys that played with him at Utah, that played with him in the NFL, he always was that team captain that made sure that he elevated the standard around him. And he was a guy that, if you were the young, talented individual that needed a little bit of guidance, he was going to take you under his wing. He's going to show you the ropes. He's going to do things the right way. So long before he was officially a coach, he was coaching people. And that's a personality trait. There's a core personality trait that people like Colton Swan have, like Morgan Scally has, like Sharif Shaw has. It's a massively important thing for an offensive line coach to have that natural teaching mindset, that natural mentor mindset, because it is the ultimate team game, and that is the ultimate position group that has to be functioning as a cohesive unit. So relative lack of experience doesn't scare me very much with Jordan Gross, the way that maybe if you don't know his backstory fully and you're writing an article in Washington, D.C., you might, this is a guy who came from the high school ranks. True, yes, factually correct. However, it doesn't tell the full story.
No, I agree. I didn't even think about this till he brought it up the other day in his press conference. In a day and age where guys leave for various and assorted reasons, some very tangible, some very petty, not a single guy in that offensive line room hit the portal in the offseason. When the other staff left and there was some turnover and it was unknown, and then when he came in, because none of them knew him, not a single one of those guys left. To me, that's pretty telling to the connection that he must have made to them pretty quickly.
Well, look, there are very few things that carry weight in football locker rooms and in football rooms in general, like big-time NFL credentials. And the only thing he doesn't have is a Super Bowl championship ring to wave in people's face.
Yeah.
But beyond that, you do even a little bit of homework, and the bona fides are there. Like, you can't question the resume, the credentials of Jordan Gross. So if you want to be a great offensive lineman, you want to play for a great offensive lineman. And that's what he's giving. He and Morgan Scally are giving every one of these guys in that position group. And I'm glad they all stayed.
Sean O'Connell with us today. He's in Pittsburgh for the fights this weekend. All right, take an offensive line off the table. Biggest question mark with a position group, individual, or just overarching question you have with Utah football this spring?
Well, I mean, look, I love Colton Swan. I probably love Colton Swan more than anyone does because he was my coach at Weber State before he came down and started things at the University of Utah. But there is a question, not in a negative connotation question, but just a curiosity about what the defense looks like with him calling it. He was a co-defensive coordinator at Weber State for very successful teams. Now he's going to be taking over like the definitive foundational unit for Utah football. Utah football is its defense and has been for 3-4 decades. So now he's taking over, and what he does with that is going to be really, really interesting to me. I'm incredibly curious how much it changes and how much he just sticks with the status quo. And then with that in mind, is this defensive line, is the defensive line group capable of carrying the torch and filling the shoes that every single defensive line group and every pass rushing group has to carry at the University of Utah? That is a lofty expectation, an unrealistic sometimes expectation from me, from you, from the fan base, that you're going to be one of the best units in the conference, certainly, and hopefully in the country. And on paper, there's not a ton of experience. On paper, there's not a ton of 4 or 5-star guys. It's like that group, which is never a question, is like at least a mild question in that not that there's a lack of talent, that there's a lack of potential, but you got to prove it. So I'm keeping an eye on that along with the offensive line. And, for once, maybe the biggest question is not the pass-catching abilities of a wide receiver room. So that's nice.
Well, it's funny you say that because people have asked me, well, what are your concerns? I don't really have any concerns. I just have a lot of questions and curiosity. For me, the passing game is real. I'm really curious about what the passing game is going to look like. I thought Devin made some really nice strides. If you watched his New Mexico tape to where he was last year, he was wildly accurate in the short and intermediate passing game. They really didn't stretch the field a lot last year, Sean. There was not a lot of downfield throwing with Utah offense. So with this new kind of trio of wide receivers from the portal, Pagan, Scholes, and Johnson, mixed in with Simmons and Whittemore, and hopefully if Zipperer gets healthy, him back too, I'm really curious to see with Kevin McGivern what this passing game looks like. And again, we'll get glimpses of it this spring. It won't be a finished product, their install and terminology and all that stuff. But I think they've got some guys that can legitimately stretch the field. What do you think?
Well, and Kevin McGivern knows how to use those guys. If you remember Mr. Irrelevant from Weber State, Tim Toon, Kevin McGivern saw, oh, look, I got this kid from Arizona with a ton of speed, and he doesn't have to look the part. He doesn't have to be this big, impressive body, but I know that he can run past defenders, and we're going to put the ball out there, and we're going to let him run underneath it. And to the effect of you sent a big sky guy to the NFL draft by doing that. I mean, he knows how to use wide receiver talent when you've got it. And to the point you made about a lack of downfield passing, I think we underestimate how injured Devin Dampier was and how much that affect. Obviously, we were just like, oh, look, he can't run the way that we expect him to be able to run. Yeah, that's a big part of his game. But when you don't have a solid base, when your legs, your hips, your groin, they're not feeling good, you cannot drive through the turf and generate the power to put good power and put good zip on your downfield throws. That was hugely problematic for Devin Dampier. He was arm throwing every single one of those routes that went beyond 25 yards. And that is a really, really difficult thing for any quarterback to do, even guys with great arm strength. So him being a lot healthier, having the surgically repaired groin muscles or tendons or whatever was going on in there, that's going to be really big for the downfield passing game. And obviously, we'll see what Bert Ficklin does when he's put in there, because he's got some arm strength. And I think that the downfield passing game is going to be absolutely crucial. And I also think you have the run game, or potentially have the run game, certainly in the running back room. You have the powerful inside run game that you can set that up by making a defense crowd the box a little bit, try to take away Sean Parker, and then all of a sudden it gives you an opportunity with a safety creeping forward to try and get behind them. So that is the game that every offensive coordinator has to play with their defensive coordinators opposite them. And I think that Utah is going to be well equipped to have a nice balanced offense that does include some downfield passing.
I'm very intrigued too by what Kevin does. I don't like the term gadget guys. I like weapons instead. You've got Nate Johnson. You've got Hunter Andrews, who was, to me, on the verge of having a really nice, productive, maybe big year with Utah before he got hurt last year. You've got Daniel Bray. You've got the aforementioned Bird Ficklin, who I know is a quarterback, but he can be used in a variety of different ways. There are a lot of guys that aren't necessarily grouped in one room that have the ability to be really nice weapons for this Utah offense, too, that aren't a designated wide receiver or designated running back full time.
Yeah, absolutely. And Morgan is the type of guy that is going to just allow for positionless football. He's gonna say, look, do what you have to do, get that ball in the end zone. I don't care whose hands it's in. I don't care what position they're starting from. I don't care what the motion looks like. Get this ball into the end zone and make it hard, because he's a defensive coordinator. And you heard him say it. Your job is to give the opposing defensive coordinator fits. That's what he wants his offense to do. He wants to create the kind of nightmares that other teams created for him by having athletic versatility, by having positionless football, by being like, well, is this guy a wide receiver? Is he a tight end? Is he a tight end? Is he a fullback? Is he all of the above? Is Nate Johnson, when he comes in motion, is he going to stop in the backfield and reverse position? Like, what are we going to do here? Like, Morgan is going to be, I think, a lot more comfortable with innovation in that regard than even Witt was. And Witt did a really good job in the last few years of allowing those guys to really kind of thrive and shine, because you didn't have enough other weapons. So you had to be like, all right, Brant Keithy, just use him however we can use him. But right now, and I knock on wood as I say this, that group of guys that you just mentioned, plus like probably a couple others. Who's the Carvalho, the punt return kid?
Mana.
Mana's got incredible speed and quicks. Like, you get him a little bit more involved on the offensive side of things, coming out of that slot or motioning into the backfield, and all of a sudden you're really cooking with gas. And I think we're going to see some of that. Probably not too much of it in spring, because they're gun shy about exposing too much, which is something I hope Morgan wouldn't be, but it's the right way to be. And, I'm excited for what that group can be in the fall.
One more football note. How excited are you about Luke Wells and the return of the Rhino backs for the Utah offense?
It is a glorious thing for the non-lateral quickness individuals like myself. All right? You want a guy that is just going to run downhill and put his face mask through the chest of a linebacker, whether he's got the ball in his hands or not. And now you've got at least one, probably two on the roster that can do that. And it's a glorious thing. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And Kevin McGibbon knows how to use those guys as well.
By the way, for the latest on all Utah spring ball coverage, keep it tuned to Sean here on his show every day, every week. Spring football coverage brought to you by Big Willie's, Game Day Men's Health, Burger Fusion, Valley Plumbing and Heating and Cooling, and Mountain Home Services, all spring long, all summer long, right here on the Sean O'Connell Show. By the way, I had my first daily dump of my radio career today. That was quite an experience.
Brought to you by Valley Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. It's a wonderful experience every single day.
But midway through the show, it was a nice reliever. It was really nice to do the daily dump today for you. So yeah. Hey, before I let you
wait till you air your grievances, Bill, and you get all that angst off your chest.
Oh my gosh, I got some problems with you people. I channel my inner Frank Costanza. It's not even Festivus. I probably shouldn't have brought this up today. Went to the hockey game last night, had a great time. It's baseball opening day. You know I love baseball, and I know baseball's right around the corner. I just feel it. More people I talk to, and Dale Murphy's going to join us in a few minutes. He's part of that Baseball Utah project. But I want to just ask you on the way out here, Sean, is Salt Lake City really and truly ready right now for another pro sports franchise? There are 3 professional major league level sports franchises, Jazz, Mammoth, RSL. 3 major league level state major college programs in Utah, BYU and Utah State. And then you've got 3 minor league teams, the Bees, the Royals, the Grizzlies. Can Utah right now sustain another major league sports franchise without doing damage to another one?
As long as the other ones are competitive and actually giving people a reason to show up, then yes.
Okay.
I mean, the appetite for sports and entertainment in Salt Lake City and really just in American society is incredibly strong. But, the competition is better than it's ever been. The home The home viewing experience is better than it's ever been. And, you know, you got more streaming options, and kids' video games are better than they've ever been. So if you're going to bring a franchise in, you can't just say, hey, we're here. That means you have to show up. You got to give people a reason to show up. You got to make it an entertaining product. You got to be competitive. The Jazz are finally, I think, starting to turn that corner, but we have learned over the last 4 years that even one of the most loyal fan bases in all of NBA basketball can have some fatigue on tanking and on losing constantly and on roster manipulation and things like that, right? You have to incentivize a fan base, and Utah is no different than anyone else, to actually show up. So when the Major League Baseball expansion franchise, when the Utah Cutthroats or the Utah Mountain Goats or the Utah Trappers or Gulls or whatever we end up calling them, when they are in that ballpark out in the Power District, yeah, as an expansion team, you give them a little grace. Year 2, 3, 4, whatever. But you better start competing. The way that the Utah Mammoth have done it is the ideal model. I mean, second year of franchise history, very, 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 very likely to make it to the playoffs, could potentially win a series. You're a brand new thing. Your players have integrated well into the community. You're going to need that. But if Major League Baseball can give you something that even remotely resembles that product, absolutely Salt Lake City can support it.
By the way, I know you're a big name and mascot guy. Do you have a name/mascot that you've heard that you would like to see baseball, when that day does come, go with? You were very passionate about the hockey team. Have your fires been stoked yet? Has the mind been grinding on the baseball yet?
Everyone really loves the Cutthroats idea because of the cutthroat trout and whatnot. At the end of the day, it's a fish. I don't know if I love having a, you know what I mean? Like, you could do some cool branding and stuff like that, but it's a trout. You know what I mean? It's like it's a foot-long fish. It's not even impressive like a marlin. So I'm dubious on that. I'm middle of the road on that. I came around when we were contemplating names for the hockey team. Somebody sent in, like a mountain goats, like a goats. I would absolutely love a goat-themed baseball team in the state of Utah, but I'm open to any and all suggestions.
I don't mind that if you create like an angry, tough-looking mountain goat with horns and things like that. Yeah, it can't be something cartoonish and happy and friendly. It's got to be a mean, intimidating-looking one that would come buck you off the side of the mountain if you were up there type goat. Am I wrong?
Exactly right.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And put a little diamond on its head or whatever. I don't know. But there's the options are there. They did a good job with the Mammoth thing. So if you can get on board with that same kind of company, that same kind of branding effort, then the first hurdle you got to get over is you got to get the team here. And I know Dale Murphy's been working hard on that with Big League Utah, and you're going to have that conversation. But I think it's an inevitability. So I look forward to when we debate it aggressively, in the near future.
Go with me here for just a minute, Sean. How about the Yeti? I mean, what do you think? I've been off the air for a couple of years now, so I'm not sure if anybody's ever brought that up. What do you think? The Yeti?
You know what? That's a great idea, Bill. Let's do it. Let's see if a lawsuit comes to the Miller family like it did to the Smith Entertainment Group.
Hey, thank you for letting me sit in for you today. This has been a lot of fun. By the way, on the way out, what about our friends Handy and Handy, Sean?
I mean, HandyLawUtah.com. Preston and Garrett have been longtime partners of ESPN 700. I haven't had to use them, and I'm thankful for that. But if you have any sort of personal injury situation, if you've been hurt at work, even if you just have a legal question, HandyLawUtah.com. Get a hold of them. Trust them with the legal advice that you need. Big firm experience, small firm attention, Bill.
Whether it's Bill Riley on the Sean O'Connell Show or Sean O'Connell on the Sean O'Connell Show, this segment is brought to you by Handy and Handy Law, Utah. But I do mean it in all sincerity. Thanks for letting me sit in for you today. Have a great call tomorrow night. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Appreciate you immensely. Thanks, dude.
There you go. Sean O'Connell with us from Pittsburgh today. Catch him on the PFL broadcast coming up tomorrow night. We are live at Wasatch Front Kia. The aforementioned Dale Murphy will join us to talk a little baseball opening weekend coming up. We'll talk about all that stuff ahead. And we'll do topical trivia today. And if you want to swing by and see us here at Wasatch Front Kia, we'll be here till 2 o'clock. Sean O'Connell Show. Bill Riley sitting in today for OC on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Bill Riley filling in for Sean O'Connell today. OC will be back next week. Thanks to him for joining us from Pittsburgh today. He's got the PFL stuff. I'm at Wasatch Front Kia today, Riverdale Road in Ogden, 770 West. Be out here till 2. Then I'm calling some baseball tonight. I've got Utah and Kansas State, a 3-game weekend set on ESPN Plus tonight at 6. First game, and Utes and the Wildcats going to go at it. Two good teams in the Big 12 right now. And, and it's also opening weekend for Major League Baseball. We used to have opening day, and now baseball, it's like a soft lunch. You have one game here and 2 games here, and then anyway, it's opening weekend, and ESPN 700, by the way, will have Saturday afternoon and Sunday night baseball. Tomorrow afternoon, Blue Jays A's at 12:30. Sunday night, Guardians Mariners at 4:30. Pretty good games right there. My Royals open up tonight in Atlanta against the Braves. 2 teams not picked to win their division, but 2 teams that are very much in the playoff race in the AL and the NL. And I couldn't come back on the air with baseball underway without having my friend Dale Murphy join us. He's actually in Atlanta because he's like the most popular Brave of all time. Brave fans love to have him back at Truist Park, and he'll be there for the Royals and the Braves tonight. Murph, how are you?
Doing great, Riles. It's opening day, opening week, whatever you want to call it. It's a great time of year. You know, you're right. When we had one day, I got a couple thoughts when we had one day. First of all, it should be a national holiday.
I agree.
One day. But the other thing is, interestingly enough, remember when the Cincinnati Reds had the honorary first game of the year? They always had to play first because they were the first professional organization. I'm, if my recollection is right, I got to play in that game a couple times. The very first, and it was kind of a cool thing. One day we had a 12 noon start, and no internet or anything like that. And Al Rabowski gave up a grand slam to Dave Concepcion in the bottom of the ninth or maybe the bottom of the eighth to put him ahead. The next day, Hungo comes to the ballpark. He goes, "You'll never believe what happened. My wife called me about 6 o'clock yesterday and wished me good luck tonight."
The mad Hungarian, Al Rabowski. He was a Royal for a couple of years when I was a kid.
Yeah, I played with Al for a couple of years here in the Atlanta after those days with the Royals and the Cardinals, of course, and great guy. I think I'm going to do an event with him this summer, and I'd love to see that guy. He was a lot of fun and kind of had that thing going, the mad Hungarian. And anyway, yeah, his wife, he goes, honey, we already played, and it didn't work out too good.
Yeah, the Reds always had the first game. It was like noon Eastern time, and then everybody else would first pitch late in the afternoon or evening, but they always had that first game. Now, hey, whatever. Baseball's in a good place right now, especially coming out of the WB. I thought the WBC was a great advertisement for baseball in general, but a great way to lead into this season. Did you like the WBC, Murph?
Yeah, it was fantastic. I probably told you this before, but I coached in it, long in the early days. I coached first base, and it hadn't hit its stride. It was a little tough going. People didn't know what was going on, just getting used to it. And once I think the U.S. Team USA won a couple or won at least, people started paying attention. Now it's hit its stride. It's really good. They've done a great job. And then you see the passion that these countries have for the game, and especially Venezuela. I mean, so much going on there. I thought it was a great story. And I heard one story about the manager. Can't remember his name, but right when they started having their first workouts, he put a box in the middle of the locker room, and it said ego on it. And he said, everybody check their ego into this box every day before you go into this out on the field. Because there's not going to be any egos here. We're in it to win it, and I thought it was a great story for Venezuela.
I thought so too, and just a great advertisement for baseball leading us into a season. But there's big picture issues with baseball right now, Murph. There's a lot of people worried about labor unrest and the spending at the top by teams like the Dodgers and things like that, creating a competitive imbalance. You and I have talked about this down through the years back when we used to do the podcast together and stuff too. What's a good solution for baseball? Is it a salary cap? Is it a hard salary cap? I mean, what they do now is kind of a pseudo luxury tax, but if you've got money, it doesn't prevent you from spending like the Dodgers do. So give me the Dale Murphy theory on where things stand right now and how baseball can – I don't know if you can fix it completely, Dale, but how you can make it better.
Yeah, it's a great question. There's talk about a cap. There's talk about a floor. I think, from a player's perspective, we don't want a cap, but we want a floor, So I don't know. There's got to be a happy medium somewhere. I'm thinking the game is in such a good spot, Bill, that let's just hope we don't, I'm going to have an optimistic view.
Okay.
Which everybody's really worried, but I'm thinking there's going to be a way to work this out. We've been through a lot of labor strife. We've had 20-some years of no problems. Baseball's in a good position. We got superstars. We're international. I think if they move the WBC to the middle of the summer, I think that would even get bigger. There's a lot of good things happening, and we got expansion, as you know. We're looking at getting a team there in Utah, and so, man, it's in such a good spot. I'm going to start taking a little more optimistic view that we may have some problems, we may miss a little bit, but I'm not going to be doom and gloom that some of the people are talking about. We're going to figure this out somehow, and I can't speak to the exact remedy, but I think with so many good things happening and expansion coming, I'm optimistic.
Dale Murphy's with us here on the on the Sean O'Connell Show. Old habits die hard. Sean O'Connell Show. Bill Riley filling in for Sean today. Just get in this zone sometimes and you forget. So Murph, let's hit on that real quick. I'll get some Major League Baseball thoughts. All the momentum that you read nationally seems to be trending towards Nashville and Salt Lake as expansion markets. You're part of Big League Utah, and I know that. You're one of the front-facing folks with that. What are you hearing from your friends at the Major League Baseball level? What do people ask you or when you run into them? What are the thoughts? Have you heard of any setbacks? Is Utah, do you feel like still in a good position to land an MLB franchise whenever that happens?
Yeah, still very optimistic. Been at it for a few years now.
Yep.
And so, initially everybody was like, hey, that's cool. And now it's like once you get to know the market, once you get to know the Miller Group and Big League Utah, who's all associated with it, they've established some great relationships, and I'm thankful to be associated with them. And so everything's positive, really. I hate to, count the chickens before they hatch. Obviously, there's still some big things to happen. But are we on track? Absolutely. We're on track. I think if it's a no for Utah, there's going to be a lot of explaining to do. We checked every box. There's not a box that we don't check for expansion. Ownership, especially the group, headed by Gail Miller, there's just not a box that we don't check. And it's exciting. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I just, sooner rather than later, but we do have this labor agreement. We got to get through, got everybody to agree to expansion. It's going to take some time, but we're just still working, still establishing relationships, and construction, I understand, in that area, not for the ballpark, but to develop the Power District is going forward. So very optimistic, everybody I talk to.
Yeah, they're just leaving that big old donut hole in the middle there to stick that stadium in if and when that time comes. All right, do me a favor for just a minute. Take off your big league, your Big League Utah hat for just a second and be just Dale Murphy, baseball guy who reads the room. If Nashville and Utah are the two leaders right now, is there a market that Utah should be at least a little wary of or concerned? Because it feels like Nashville's a slam dunk in the East. And if this was today, it would be Utah. But it might be a year or 18 months from now. Is there another market that could maybe push for that out west? Your old market of Portland, is there somebody else that Utah needs to keep an eye on?
Well, someone could pop up, but there's no one right now. I don't think there's a better market, that side of maybe Mississippi's to the Mississippi River or the Rocky Mountain. But we're obviously Portland's there. I mean, the A's are playing in Sacramento. I don't think they're that interested. No ownership group has popped up, and no city to me is a better market than what we have. So, I mean, I don't like to sound cocky, and overconfident, but it just, I think you can objectively look at it. Now, Vegas obviously is going to be there, but as you know, you've been around. Vegas is a different market. It's far enough away. It's going to be a great rivalry. Now, I thought you were going to ask me about realignment. I think there's going to be some exciting things about realignment when the two new teams come in, but I have no idea what that means. But I think it would be cool we'll have 32 teams. I think we're going to have 8, some kind of divisions of 4, something. So that'll be interesting to see too.
Yeah, we've seen realignment. Baseball realigned itself a couple of times over the last 30 or 40 years. That's not as big a deal. It's where you're going to add those markets, right. I think. That as long as you keep some of the traditional rivalries in place, a New York-Boston type thing, a Chicago-Milwaukee thing in the National League perhaps. But anyway, right. Atlanta-Nashville could end up turning out to be a really big rivalry with the proximity and being in the South.
Yeah, I think it would be fun. Obviously, the Braves are going to be a little, shall we say, they're going to ask for a little bit of extra of that expansion money if they go to Nashville, but I think it's a great market. I think when you project out, like you say, a few decades and fan bases, I think it's going to be a tremendous rivalry. I think the Braves could really benefit from a regional rival. I don't think they're going to think the same way as me, but, they want that territory. I don't blame them. But I think it's great. I think it's great for baseball and great for fans.
Well, the Braves have owned the South for 50, 60 years, so they're not going to give that up without a little bit of a fight for sure. Hey, before I let you go, if it's not the Dodgers in the National League, who is it? Everybody sees the Dodgers as the overwhelming favorite, but if catastrophe hits, the arms go, whatever it might happen to be, who's the team to beat not named the LA Dodgers in the National League this year?
The Braves, of course. No, but here's our challenge. Braves, and here's the Dodgers' advantage, obviously, but and it's fairly obvious, but their depth. That's the challenge.
Well, when you spend Murph, when you spend $1 billion, you're going to have some depth.
Yeah, and so it's they can afford a few injuries. Braves went through some serious injuries last year. We're already a little snake bit now with some injuries going into the season, but we can't really. We got to stay healthy, and I think every other team. You can talk about the Phillies, Braves. If it could be there. I mean, obviously off the top of my head, San Diego Braves, Phillies. Who am I missing? Has a shot, but Dodgers are so good and have so much depth, which they've established with their spending. Baseball's weird, as we all know. Hey, when you think about it, Toronto should have won that thing last year.
Yeah.
So it's hard and it's going to be tough to see someone, outplay the Dodgers, but it could be any of these teams we talk about that were in the playoffs last year, and we just gotta play them and see what happens. But I do like the Braves. I do like this team, but we just gotta stay healthy, as the old it's a worn out saying, but especially all the teams except the Dodgers got to stay extremely healthy and have things bounce their way. Dodgers got depth. They got everything, so it's going to be tough.
I'm shocked to hear Mr. Braves say he likes the Braves this year. All right, before you go, give me your favorite player in Major League Baseball to watch. If you're turning on the TV and this guy is on the, he's up to bat or he's on the, whatever it might happen to be, who's your favorite player to watch? Doesn't have to be the best player, but who's Dale Murphy's favorite player to watch?
Well, I got some favorite Braves, but you probably want me to pick some other people. And I'll tell you, I love two shortstops, your guy Bobby Witt and Ellie De La Cruz.
Yep.
Baseball's not like this obvious sport where you're playing hard and intense. It doesn't it doesn't exude that. But when those two guys get on the field, I can feel it. And they play hard. They love the game, and it's fun to watch. Those are the first two that come to mind. Obviously, Shohei, we'll probably never see a player like him. So, if Shohei's up and he's playing, I'm watching.
Yeah, Ohtani is must-watch TV, but and
Yeah.
it's not just because I'm a Royals fan. I just think Bobby Witt is because he's a five. He's probably the best all-around player in the game, not named Shohei Ohtani. Between playing shortstop, the toughest position to play, he's got speed, he's got power. He does it all. And like you said, he kind of plays with that. He's still young, so he kind of plays with that boyish, hey, I'm out here having fun with my buddies playing baseball.
Exactly. And, Shohei, he does DH, and I know he pitches, and that, what he does is remarkable. But being Shohei's everyday player, but it's
not in the field. He's not a field player. Yeah.
It's different. Now he pitches, so it's hard to figure out what kind of category you put him in. He's in his own category. I think we can agree with that. Everyday players, Bobby Witt is the prototypical player. You say, kids, watch how he plays. This is the guy.
I'll tell you another young player I really like watching is Roman Anthony from the Red Sox. He's a lot of fun to watch, too.
And everybody says this, but it's hard to figure out how – it's hard when you realize how young he is.
Yeah.
He just – a lot of kids, he just looks like a seasoned veteran. So, again, getting back to our discussion earlier, Riles, we got so many good things going on in the game. We had one of the best, highest-watched World Series and casual baseball fans ever. Let's just take care of business for next year, and let's not have it be a shadow hanging over this year and what we got going on.
Hey, Murph, thanks for coming on today. It's always great catching up. We'll do it again soon. Enjoy the baseball in Atlanta this weekend, and we'll see if the Braves can rally from an 0-3 deficit to begin the season after the Royals sweep them in Atlanta. But we'll see how that goes.
Wait a sec, Riles. We got to put something on this.
Let's do it. How about lunch? If you can drive up from Alpine, from stately Murphy Manor in Alpine, and have a little lunch with me.
Okay, you're on.
And you haven't been to the new Utah ballpark. You haven't been to Charlie Monfort Field and America First Ball. I'll give you a tour of the ballpark, and
okay.
Either way, I'll give you a tour of the ballpark. But one of us will buy lunch, depending on whose team wins the series.
Got it. You got it. Thanks, Riles.
All right, talk to you soon, Murph. Dale Murphy with us here on the Sean O'Connell Show today. Bill Riley filling in at Wasatch Front Kia. Going to come back on the other side. Topical trivia. Got a pair of Wu-Tang. Hey, we've got some Wu-Tang Clan tickets to give away. I'll read a couple of text messages and be done next. Sean O'Connell Show on a Friday from Wasatch Front Kia on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Bill Riley filling in for OC today. We're live at Wasatch Front Kia. Thanks to the folks up here at Wasatch Front Kia for having us out today. They've got their March Markdown Mania going on right now. That means they've got great feature lease offers on a bunch of Kia vehicles. The Kia K4 LXS, that's a great lease offer right now, $239 a month. The Kia Sportage all-wheel drive LX, that's $269 a month. And the Kia Telluride 2025, that's a really nice car. The $409 a month, high-demand model, moves quickly. Those and lots of great deals. It's going on all weekend long. We're going to wrap things up here in a couple of minutes, but you can come out and see these folks up here at Wasatch Front Kia. It's good to have the Brandons had us up here today. 770 West Riverdale Road. They're going to be here all day today, all day tomorrow as well. Part of their March Markdown Mania here at Wasatch Front Kia. Now, we've got a little topical trivia here on the Sean O'Connell Show. We have 2 tickets to Wu-Tang. They're coming to Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater in late September. Wu-Tang! Let's see, 2 tickets. First person that can correctly text the correct answer to me on the text line at 877-353-0700 will win these tickets to see Wu-Tang on 9/29. It's a bit away, but you know what I'm saying. It's about 6 months away. I mentioned this at the beginning of the show today. This is my first hosting back here on ESPN 700 in how many days? How many days since I've been back in the air chair for the first time? Now, I've guessed it on the show. That doesn't count. I've not hosted a show since I changed jobs and became director of broadcasting at the University of Utah. So how many days between shows for me? If you know the answer, text me right now at 877-353-0700. That's 877-353-0700. You'll win a pair of tickets to see the Wu-Tang Clan out at the Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater coming up in September. How many days between hosting shows for me on the station? A couple of text messages to get in before we get out of here today. Tom says, hey, Bill, you haven't skipped a beat. Thank you, Tom. I appreciate that. I guess it's like they say, like riding a bike. How's your bracket? Well, I'm not allowed to fill out a bracket officially anymore, but I did say before the tournament I think Arizona would win. So I've got the Wildcats in my mind still alive right now. So that's great. Texter 8608. Hey, Bill, great show. Seriously, missed you on the radio. Well, I'm still on the radio. I do weekly hits with Sean and Spence, and I will from time to time be able to fill in here. Thanks again to my bosses at the University of Utah for letting me come in and do some fill-in stuff for Sean. You'll hear me from time to time popping in for Sean when he's out on assignment. So anyway, one more text message, then we'll kind of wrap it up here. Hey, Bill, good to hear your voice again. My question about Utah football is how good is the offensive line going to be this year? I think it's going to be good. I think it's just going to take a minute or two for them to figure out where the pieces fit. But there's good talent in that room. All right, one more. Hey, Bill, so great to hear you on the air. Can you say anything about the Utah women's basketball program? Reese Ross is a huge loss to the portal. Is the team going to be okay? I've said this for a number of years now. Every team endures portal losses. They do. They just simply do. It doesn't matter if you've had a great year or not a great year or somewhere in between. The program will be fine. You just have to do a good job of scouting and evaluating and finding those to go there. Kids are going to go where kids got to go, and they should. You need to go where you're happy, and you want wherever makes you happy. And if I didn't see that, if she did indeed hit the portal, good for her. Good luck to her. She was a great contributor to the program while she was here. But coaches deal with this all the time, whether it's football or basketball or baseball or whatever it might happen to be. But, yeah, the program will be fine. Gavin Peterson and his staff will do a good job filling those gaps. And you get prepared for it every year. They always say it. There's going to be kids you know are going to hit the portal, and there's always one or two that surprise you. So we'll see how that goes. Thank you again to Wasatch Front Kia for having us out here today. It's been a pleasure seeing those folks again. Maybe I'll see them again here down the line when I fill in for Sean again. Thanks to James Peterson for producing it. Thanks for our entire promotions crew on site here for doing such a great job today. And thanks to you guys for listening and being part of the program. Spence is off today, so no crosstalk with my guy Spence. You'll probably hear from me coming up next week. Check out the Crimson Corner podcast wherever you get your podcast. That's my podcast now. I do it each and every week. This week's guest, my partner on the broadcast, is Stevenson Sylvester. He joins us on this week's edition of the Crimson Corner. So, for James Peterson and our entire crew here at Wasatch Front Kia, I'm Bill Riley, thanking once again Sean O'Connell for having me in, and Gordon Chiesa, and Dale Murphy, and Matt Muehlbach. You guys enjoy your weekend. Catch me tonight on ESPN Plus doing a little baseball. Enjoy the basketball as well. This is Utah's #1 sports talk, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM.